Great evening, everyone. Welcome to my late chat show. So tonight, I may or may not. Oh, I do have a special guest. My special guest has just arrived, so I will introduce her on. Hi, Dilara.
Hello, Jono. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. This
I'm doing
is
awesome, thanks.
exciting.
It's great to see you.
Thank you. And this is proper late night, by the way. It's 11:30 here, so I'm like late night Friday conversation here.
I know this is the perfect time to have a conversation.
Yeah. How you been?
So welcome to my late chat show.
Thank you. This is exciting. Hi, everybody.
So this late chat show's purpose was for me just to have my own chat show.
Well, I think that's the only reason you need, don't you?
Sorry?
I think that's the only reason you need anyway.
That is the only reason I need. And it was also a structural thing because I wasn't showing up enough for people or for my, I guess, the people I serve on my Facebook. And everyone was questioning when I was having a regular routine for coming on live. So I was like, you know what? Every Wednesday evening and Friday, for sure, I'll be there for a live show. But I'll still probably pop on during the day at some point, whenever.
Well done, Jono. I can totally relate to the fact that not showing up to people. Consistency sometimes is very challenging.
I know, and that's the whole point of it, was something that I struggled with. So I was like, you know what, I'm setting a structure where I have to commit to and show up, basically, and be here. So I'll be able to serve those that I want to help, and also have people like yourselves come on and share your lovely wisdom.
Oh, thank you for having me. So, like, you started just this week, right?
Yes, Wednesday was the first show, and obviously Ik brother came on as the first guest.
I did actually watch the replay on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
I did enjoy the conversation. And I like his idea. So I wonder if he's going to join tonight with a glass of red. I was going to do that, so I was going to have a glass of red, but I thought, you know what, I'm such a lightweight, so I better not.
Well, it makes sense for you because it's much later for you than it is for me.
Yeah, but I'm a lightweight anyway when it comes to alcohol, so I thought I better leave it. Have water.
Well, you know, you talk. Well, you share more when you're drinking.
Okay, that was supposed to be our secret.
That's the whole point of this conversation, you know. It's just open up.
True. I was so tempted actually, but anyway, don't worry. I'll make up for it.
I like how you reorganize your bookshelf so it's color coordinated, by the way.
Thank you. You know what I'm like? I saw that actually. I think I saw this about 3 years ago on Pinterest or something, and I really liked it. It had these fairy lights around it as well. And at that time, I didn't have any space at all. Like I had the bookcases, but I had it all over the flat, like in different places. I didn't have a space that, you know, like I could put it all together. And I put it on my vision board, and here we go.
Wow.
I know. Maybe the vision board thing works after all.
I have some comments. Good evening, Darren, brother. Great to see you. And by the way, whoever else is tuning on, please feel free to say hi and ask questions. And tonight's theme is about relationships because, Dilara, if you want to just quickly introduce what you do to everyone.
Sure. I'm a life and relationship coach. I do obviously coaching on various aspects of life, but my biggest passion is relationships. And what I mean by that is somebody could be single and couldn't let go of an ex, or still struggle to open their heart, or couples that have communication challenges, When we're talking about relationships, as we both know, ego is the biggest factor. So I kind of like help them out, how to communicate, how to keep the ego, and yeah, that's what I do basically. Anything in regards to relationships and communication.
Ooh,
Juicy.
awesome. Yes, it's the juicy relationship topic that we touched upon on Wednesday evening with Ik.
Or was
because
I?
we was talking about inner conflicts and the challenges of, was it love and money was the two biggest things that drive people crazy.
True, true, true.
So, funny enough, you do finance and relationships.
I do. But it's a relationship with money, isn't it? So it is a relationship. It's how people perceive themselves, how people see money, and the dynamic they have, the beliefs and the conditioning they have around money. It's the same thing. The beliefs and conditioning around relationships and around men, around women, around marriage. So it's the same thing. It's just it's the same concept, but it's a different, so-called different things.
What do you mean by kind of different?
Well, as money is different, isn't it? So kind of like that's more because when it's in the relationships, it's two-way street. So, but when it's money, it's a different dynamic. But the whole concept of the relationship, like I said, conditioning and beliefs, self-worth, in order to be able to receive, blockages around receiving, blockages around, or the thoughts about not being worthy of having abundance. And it would be the same thing, not feeling like worthy of having a healthy relationship. So it's very similar, Jono.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, I did have
now, like,
sorry.
Maybe we should have Ik again now. Like, he should jump on. This would be so much fun.
If he is watching, he can jump on. So I'll just ping him the link anyway and see if he just jumps on and have a freeway conversation. Because the thing is with this StreamYard, we can have more than 2 or 3 guests.
Awesome. It could be our proper hangout, right? This is what we do when we get together.
Yes, this can be used as a hangout. I mean, I'm open to having more than 2 or 3 guests at a time, if that's what happens.
Explore at some point.
I can't remember how many people. I think we get to like 8 or 10 or plus. I can't remember, something like that.
Oh, that's.
Oh, it is here. Look, good evening. I have my red wine ready. Egg brother, I just sent you a link, so if you want to jump on with that link, then we can talk about juicy relationship stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I did have a request of a question actually before I jumped on. So this one would be for you to go through the difference between lust and love. Not the lust of physical sexual attraction, but the lust of imaginative relationship lust, if you get what I mean.
No, I don't. What does that mean, imaginative?
So, lust versus love.
Yeah.
But the lust would be more of lusting for a relationship that doesn't really exist, but
oh, okay. So the image of it,
the image of what the relationship could or should be like, but doesn't turn out to be that way. So they're lusting for a relationship that doesn't really exist. That perfect image,
yeah,
of what the perfect relationship should look like.
Yeah, it's basically the Hollywood movies, right?
Yes. So because they're so consumed or having this perception of this perfect relationship that they see in movies and hear about, I guess, from other people, but when they're in the reality of the relationship, it doesn't turn out how it should look like.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah,
lusting for a relationship that doesn't really exist or hasn't been created yet.
yeah, exactly. Or, feeling like having a relationship with somebody that you're not even in a relationship with, like you're already in it, and then you actually experience a breakup. Yeah, that's a very good question, because the whole concept of this is what makes things challenging. And all days, like still these days, we have Hollywood movies, the girl meet boy, and their eyes is just like they met and crossed the room, and then they walk, and then that's it, like they kiss and everything. They live their life happily ever after. But obviously what they don't show, that and that honeymoon period is it ends. It's we see the other person in truest form, and then that almost that little veil in front of us, that pink feathery thing that we have in front of it, just disappears, and then we see the truth of it. So that's a really good question. So what's the difference between lust and love? Well, lust is like it's complete imagination, and imagining something. But I think, like, what I mean, this is actually a really juicy question, because I think having a very healthy imagination or image, it's very good for a single person in regards to like manifestation and attraction concept of it, because we attract what we believe. But we need to remember that like we're not perfect, nobody else is perfect. So when it comes to love, there's a different levels of relationship, and there's a different levels of love as well. When people first get together, because of the hormones is all over the place, this honeymoon period, it's a lot of, again, it's like a lost environment, and that's the period that people make a lot of promises. You're my ride or die, or it's a you're the one for me, we my forever and things like that. That's thrown around a lot in the first three, top 6 months, generally 3 months of the relationship. And after that, when reality hits, and we start to question it. So love is such a beautiful thing. But we always been introduced, I don't want to say always, so guys, please forgive me, I'm still working on my language. Sometimes I say always, there's no such a thing as always, generally. That the love that we've been taught, and the love that we've been introduced, it's distorted, because it's all concept of relationship and love coming from our families. I'm in Turkey right now. This is my basically country. I was born. Basically, I grew up like for 20 years, and it's been amazing that doing such a inner work, especially around relationships and healing and all that kind of concepts of it. Like I've been sitting down with my mother. Rather often, and not in a judgmental way, like in a discussion way. I was saying to my mom, do you understand like how conditional this love is? It's like, I was like, do you remember my childhood? And this is not a judgment, we have a really good relationship with my mom, this is part of the healing that we have. And I was saying to her, like, do you remember, like, in my childhood you used to tell me that if you do that, this is going to happen. So there's a lot of condition, and then when we grow up, that actually reflects in the relationship. Like, if you love me, you would do this, look what other people's like boyfriends or girlfriends is doing, like, you don't do that. You don't love me because you don't do this, and you don't do that because you don't love me. So there is actually love is a concept, not a concept, that the real love is in the highest level. If you're talking about a spiritual aspect of it, love actually needs to have a lot of freedom. So when we talk about lust, the imagination, if I go back to that, there's actually no freedom. It's an image, and we attach to that. So anything less than that, it's not going to be good enough. But love has a lot of acceptance, completely open and compassionate to human imperfections, and knows the fact that this is, if it's a ride, this is not a marathon, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon, it's a lifetime. So love is all about being patient, love all about giving each other freedom. But then this is very, for me, like, it's, to be fair, it's not even easy to say it, because our ego gets triggered, because we are attached. Our concept, a lot of us, our concept of love, like I said, conditional, and then we have a lot of attachment to it. I love you, like even in the beginning of the relationship, if you're being really honest, we all want to have an end goal, and we have a lot of attachment to that end goal. Either could be that to marry the person, or having the second date, or sleep with that person. So there's a lot of attachment to it. But if you think about love, that needs to be free. That's the place to growth. That's the place to make mistakes. That's the place that needs to be forgiveness. That needs to be acceptance. But lust is just that concept of lust is just an image, and it's not. It's going to be incredibly disappointing when it's not going to be met, because it's an imagination. Saying that, like, in real life, do they not people find an incredible partner? They really do feel like they experience magic. It does happen too. Does it happen to everybody? No. But does it not happen? Yes, it does. I don't know what's the criteria for that. I don't think nobody does. But it's the concept of love should be the come to easiest, but for some reason that it's one of the most painful and challenging one.
Well, love is
the wine.
This is when you need the wine, right, Dilara?
I didn't need wine. I didn't stop talking.
Well, love is unconditional, right? So that's why we call it unconditional love.
Yeah.
And it's,
I think it's important to differentiate that, because like, I'm very cautious about what people's concept is. Unconditional love doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want, you can say whatever you want, it's okay. No, like, love is unconditional, but respect and boundaries, it's a must-have in that relationship. Love is unconditional in a way that you are free to express yourself. You're free to make mistakes without being threatened, without being judged, without being criticized. But that doesn't mean that you can abuse me physically or emotionally, and then hide behind because I love you. So
there's a boundary.
Yeah, I always say that, because sometimes people take that unconditional love concept to extreme. I feel responsible to make a point. Yes, but we have to have healthy boundaries.
We have Ick Locke joining us as well now. There he is.
Hey! My two brothers. I'm so excited.
I miss you so much. You don't know how much I miss you.
Oh, I miss you too.
I wasn't joking when I said I'm preparing red wine tonight.
I tell you what, we had dinner like before I come up, and then my mom was like, "Oh, shall we just open a bottle of red wine?" And I was like, "Oh, I really want to, but I should probably not. Like, I should probably be like sort of sober, because I'm gonna be done."
You should just join us. You should join me anyway. I feel like I'm drinking alone. I thought, you know what? I need to have this virtual. Let's try out this virtual drinking hangout. Let's see.
Yeah.
I've got my tea, if that helps.
I've got a bottle of water. I'm so boring. Oh.
I've got tea, so that's just inside, really.
Oh man, you don't know how much I miss you, sis. Oh, it's getting boring when I don't see your face these days.
I need to go away in order for you guys to miss me. Okay, I'll go away open.
Well,
Right.
The thing is, you go away a bit too far for us to actually come and see you.
I'm just like a light switch. I go extreme. You said that's lucky I didn't go to Australia. I could not go. I could get that far.
I already told her, I was like, next year, like before you even decide to come back to UK, whenever you do decide to come back, I'm gonna go and visit first. Like that has to happen first before she comes back.
Oh yeah, but you're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have a great time.
Oh gosh. Right, so we're talking about relationship. Let's get to it. I've been listening, by the way, when you guys just finished talking about love and lust. Actually, I was watching this cartoon anime and they were talking about the seven sins and lust was one of them, which is quite fascinating.
Yeah, it's that concept of love, loss. Definitely, I think Jono, the question wasn't actually like about the sexual aspect of it. That lost of ideal, perfect relationship that which doesn't exist, but that's going to cause a lot of attachment and heartbreak and potentially not taking much of the responsibility.
That's more infatuation, isn't it? It's more in the realm of infatuation rather than really falling in.
Fantasy love, lust even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then there's puppy love.
And the puppy love, God, yeah. And then that's that.
Oh. Okay.
Questions or anything? I don't know. I can't see anything.
There hasn't been any questions yet, but those that are watching, if you have any questions about relationships, feel free to pop them on. If not, we'll just casually have our conversation about relationships.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the show. It's free flow.
Exactly.
I was just gonna join as an audience anyway and sip my red wine while I listen to your beautiful voices and see your lovely faces,
But it's cool that you're here anyway, so that's really cool. I was reading a book, the John Gottman, can't remember what it was. It's not next to me now. Like 7 something about marriage. I'm sorry, I'd ask later to look at her name. But it's actually an amazing book. Like if anybody's actually interested, I would suggest it. Even if anybody just looks for John Gottman's marriage book, that will gonna come up. And I read that before, but I read it again because the biggest thing, like even like in our private conversations, that we always say that the biggest challenge that we all have, it's around ego. Because when love gets involved, like egos really kick off. And then it's kind of like, that's one of the things, like that's why I love that quote. Is like, do you want to be right or do you want to be in love? So that's kind of like such an important thing when ego is triggered. And in this book, that is one of the it's not a sin, but one of the things that he basically talks about contempt, the concept of it, and it was like how subtle it can be. For example, when somebody says something like small remarks to somebody, and sometimes like that can like sound like even like passive aggressive or something, but there's like a content. It's really fascinating book. I was just actually refreshing my memory on that. I just want to share it if anybody's interested. It's an amazing book.
Got that. How about you share with us, like, what would be your recommended top 5 or top 3 books on the topic of relationship? If obviously we have different people who are in different stages of relationships in their life, right? Some people are looking for love, they haven't found it yet, or maybe they're still single or they've broken out, and then there's the realm of keeping a relationship, making it stay alive and all of that. But there's different stages of relationship. But what would you say personally would be your top 3 to 5 most favorite books that you highly recommend for relationship that everyone should read?
It's really hard for me when I have that many books.
I know.
You're going through like each stage of relationship.
But like, you must have your favorite, right? You must have your preferences.
Yes, of course. The number one, I would say, Love Languages. That book is a game changer. And I think it's one of those books that we should really revisit. It's really important. The other book, let me get it.
Love
Love
language is a
language was
really
a big
funny
one for
one.
me.
This is the book that I was referring to. John Gottman's The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. You can, like, you don't have to be married. If anybody is interested to be married, or anyone interested to have a committed long-term, maybe even living together, it's an amazing book. It's I'm still, like I said, these books are for me like reference books, and I visit them myself. What would be the next book? Oh, it's very tricky, bro. It's a very good question. I guess, like, for men, or even women, the book is The Way to Superior Man. That would be quite beneficial for everybody. You know, David Dado. It's
the way to
Superior Man.
The Way of the Superior Man.
Superior.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good reviews about the book.
It is, but then I think, like, if any man watching that it gets offended, please don't get offended by it, guys. But I think some guys take it quite extreme. Last night I couldn't fall asleep, so it was about, I don't know, like, it was about 3 o'clock, as you do. I ended up watching this YouTube live about a dude. No disrespect, but he, I mean, at the end, he was just talking like a little boy. Like, I was like, he did get under my skin. I'm not gonna lie, he did trigger me. And he was basically had this whole life, about 2 hours live, about women and why most women is like alone and single and those kind of things. And you know, I read a lot, so I know that exactly the things that he was saying, he was reading from certain books, and part of it, like, he was referring to David Data. And I noticed that when some people actually start to read David Data's book, especially with this book, they go quite extreme. I always say that just take it as a reference, a lot of them, and reflect on your life that as and when you need it, but don't take it literal. I always say that, like, don't forget the times these books are written. Don't forget the fact that whoever writes this, doesn't matter how amazing researchers are, one way or another, it's an opinion. I mean, you see, John Gottman is amazing because he is the world's biggest researcher anyway. Most of his work is based on researchers. But I still do think that even the researchers are limited. We got 7 billion people in the world, and so God knows how many different dynamic relationships. So, I mean, he could even be 70 years old, but his research will always be limited as well. So I always say that just take what applies to you and just leave the rest of it. So it was really interesting watching that last night. Like, this dude really got under my skin. Like, he had very interesting, for me, like, it's rather toxic thoughts about women and men and those kind of things. But if you have time, we can go into it. So the 4th book would be this legendary book, The Mastery of Love, Don Miguel Ruiz. I learned so much just this book itself. I mean, you guys, I don't know if you guys can see it, like, I have like pretty much every page is highlighted, because this is like going back what we were talking with you, Jono, like, about conditional love. Like, when I read this book, you know, I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to love unconditionally. Like, my love is totally conditional, you know. So this was like a real eye-opener. How many I said so far? 4, right?
4, yeah.
So
Keeping count.
no.
Yeah, anything more than 5 would be quite overwhelming.
The 5th one, I suggest non-violent communications.
Non-violent communication. Interesting.
It's somewhere. I don't know where. but it's basically it's can't remember who's been written by non-violent communications, which is absolutely amazing. That's it's a bit of an interesting and at times like hard to read book, because you might realize that you might be a bit of a passive aggressive, and you might realize that you're actually quite manipulative, and with some ways that you're quite abusive. You don't think about it, but then the way it's been written, I was like, oh, crap. So these books, I must say, these books definitely my top 5. David Data, like play around. Is if anyone is interested in masculine energy and woman as well. But that book, please, ladies and gents, like if you just read it, just see it as a reference. Just don't just like take it literal.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I personally, I never take any particular book as a Bible anyway. Every book carries essential lessons. I believe that it carries wisdoms, right?
The best book, particularly, it's really triggering stuff in people.
Okay. Interesting.
That's why I'm just like, that should come with warning.
Come with warning. Put a sign on your book. Warning, trigger happy.
Trigger.
Don't apply it.
Possible trigger.
I'm just gonna give a shout out to Aslam, because Aslam's just said hello and good to see you. So hey Aslam, it's good to see you as well.
Hey Aslam, great to see you.
I've not seen you around. By the way, guys, if anyone's got any questions about relationships or that aspect about love and all of that, we've got Dilara here. She's a fantastic relationship coach. She's my coach, and also like a sister to me. So ask her anything at all right now.
Don't ask the questions though.
Oh, so I'm gonna go a little bit personal now, sis. So now that you're in Turkey, have you seen any eye candy around that has sparked an interest?
How funny is that? Like, I just said, don't ask the personal questions. It's just
It's like personal questions. Go for it.
What was the question again?
Have you met any eye candy in Turkey so far? Anyone interesting that sparked your, that little fire in you yet?
Yeah, it's not that easy to start that fire in me, bro. There are plenty of eye candies, no doubt about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's for sure. No fire.
So smoke but no fire.
Fire is under control.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's smoke but no cigar.
That's one way to put it, I guess. But yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh, you know what would be amazing if we can get a mixture of questions from both girls and guys, because I know everyone has different needs. I'll probably ask around.
Well, the thing is, I should probably put a post out like before I have the live thing. And any questions regarding this topic, please ask or like comment, because it seems like people are watching, but they're very shy and very quiet.
Yeah, relationship is one of those.
If you have questions and you don't want to post it on the wall, drop me a DM. Okay, right? If you don't want to like people see you asking that question, then drop me a DM and we'll keep it confidential. Right? We won't say who's asked. We will keep it confidential and just answer that question for you.
Yeah.
Because I know relationships can be a very sensitive topic, and it is. So, and not everyone's like open to discuss relationships like I am. Like I would just tell you everything. Because that's just how I work.
We get a question that you're friends with the couple, and one of them is say, "How can I break up with my boyfriend?" I don't know. That would be a disaster. But it's something like interesting. We can talk about it because obviously with COVID-19, dating has changed, but in the same token that there are some people experience different things when in regards to relationships. Some people, for example, they haven't been together for so long, but they end up living together because they didn't have any other choice. Some people, it was just the beginning of the relationship, and then they had a lockdown, and then they haven't seen each other for months. And you know, and it has been very interesting to hear so many from so many single people, especially from men, that they were like, oh, actually, I had a lot of time to reflect. Now I realized that I want a relationship, I want a commitment, and I'm like, wow, okay, all right, what's going on? So this virus might not be so bad at all. And some people actually just realized that they were just perfectly happy. But in the same time, obviously, I mean, there's like millions of different things, and some people are just stuck, and some families stuck in such a small spaces with a child and with them, and you know, like both parents and maybe even two kids, and it could be like a studio flat or one bedroom flat in the same time, like their parents had to work and be take care of the children as well. That put so much pressure on relationships. So I guess like we have still, sounds like London is going through interesting times again. Hopefully it won't be a lockdown, but it's not, you know, it hasn't final yet. So I think like COVID, especially in regards to like dating, changed things a lot, which has been really fascinating to see, because obviously I experienced that with my clients as well. Like there's a lot of like emotions has been so high for the past 3-4 months. Yeah, especially like in dating aspect of it, I just find it like it was really interesting in a way that, like I said, for some people that it just given a time that maybe they would never take consciously if it was up to them. And like I said, there was just more men than women, right? At least in my experience, that they actually say that, oh, I just want to be in a relationship now. Like I just realized that I want something committed. I thought that was really interesting.
What do you think to all the virtual dating?
Yeah, that's quite popular now, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, it's been popular for years anyway. But obviously now it's just more apparent because everyone's forced into it. Right? Like I used to do virtual dating back 15 years ago.
Are we talking about MSN?
Yeah, exactly, MSN. Like, and like ICQ and IRC chat room and that kind of area. Right? That used to be virtual dating.
Oh gosh.
Obviously, it wasn't as, you know, as apparent as it is now, because now it's like the light's shining on it, right? So people are forced to do it. It's like,
well, it's
like
more
the
like a normal
concept,
thing.
It's like the whole concept of working from home, right?
Yeah.
I've been working from home for the last 18 years. But to everyone, it seems like new thing, right? I'm just like, this is my lifestyle, like since 18 years ago. It makes no difference to me.
True.
Yeah, but I think the difference is like in dating now, like in the virtual one, that they actually are like they prepare for good dinner. Sometimes like they provide the same dinner, they open a bottle of wine, they play music, you know, like watch a movie together. I personally think that is very interesting, and I really do think that it's quite endearing, because I think as much as you're trying to pretend like you're still so chic and cool and all that, you know, like fancy, I think it's most people like quite chilled to kind of. I think it is giving people a chance to see each other in a more natural way sooner than it would be longer. I know like a lot of people, it worked really well. They actually really enjoyed it and they found the right people. Some people still messed around. They didn't even just do any like virtual dating, and then they were like, oh, okay, like when it's all finished, we'll just meet up, because they just want to, you know, like comes like, yeah, we'll meet up, that kind of thing. But I do think that this kind of like made people probably a little bit more confident in a way that to ask, right? Because like you could just meet with people, but now I think it's actually making people to pick up the phone and call, have that video calls that they probably wouldn't be able to do it before. So it's kind of, you know, it's one of those things like it is making people to get out of their comfort zone, something unusual, and then they have to become a little bit creative. And then when we are out of our comfort zone, we always find a bit of joy on that. So my experience, at least with the clients that I know, the friends, and a lot of the conversation that I have, it's been actually quite positive, and a lot of people enjoyed in dating aspect of it. But then again, I think what this is the people that who actually are willing to do it. But people still like talking to many people and say we're going to meet, and then I saw a meme the other day, and it was like, so are you free in January like 2021 for a date? The girl goes like, yes, I think so. I'm pretty sure I'm free on that day. Let me put it on my diary. So it's kind of like, it's bizarre, like it's humoristic, but it's actually quite true. But obviously for couples who have children who are not working from home, they used to have childcare, and both parents are working, and in small spaces this has been very challenging. So and I know, for example, from some people that they actually realized that they had nothing in common. The marriage was only working because both people were out. They were working together significant amount of time, and the time they were spending in the evenings or even over the weekend, they were socializing and things like that. So, but they realized that when they end up spending so much time together, which would not something they would do, they just realized that they don't have much thing in common. To be fair, as bad as it is, that it's not that bad. It's better people find out.
Yeah, I mean, getting on that topic, I mean, my cousin, she's 10 year, 10, 11, 12, yeah, actually probably 13 years younger than me. And she was, so obviously we're Chinese, we come from a Chinese family, and her mom's my auntie. When she said, I want to move in with my boyfriend, her mom had a fit, so my auntie had a fit, and she spoke to me, trying to get me to convince my cousin not to do it, because like Chinese people are more reserved, and and actually I did the other thing, I did the opposite thing, and I convinced her to let her daughter say, it's actually a really good idea. And I told her, it's like, you guys know my story. It's like the relationship that I used to have with my ex-fiance didn't work out because we moved in, and we didn't even last 5 months, right? So the lesson there is like, wow, it's because compatibility is such a big issue. People don't talk about it. When you're finding the right person, you gotta be compatible. And when I mean compatible, I mean like you both of you can live under the same roof 24 hours a day and see each other every single day and be okay with it. And you have to test that. But you can't test that without actually being together. So I always recommend to people, say, you know what, best thing to do is just move in for a good 6 months, and if you don't kill each other by the end of the 6 months, then you guys are good.
It's very challenging, and also I guess like it's not so bad when people just work full time in an office, so they're out majority of the time, like they have drinks with their colleagues and stuff. But if two people working from home, oh man, that's like fireworks, and that's a challenge. But I think it's important to go back to the point that you made, and it's super important. Not that, again, is something that is so important. It's compatibility.
Yeah.
So it's not about love, it's about compatibility as well. Like you can love somebody, but you might not be compatible. And it's important to accept that.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
You know, in Chinese, we have this saying. It's very, very common. It's a very common saying, but I don't think a lot of people understand the actual meaning behind it, or they don't have a reference for it. And that is 有緣無分. So Jono would know. He would have heard it before. So 緣分. In Chinese, 緣分, right? It's two separate words. It means fate, but also like we're meant to be. Like 缘分 means like a fate of encounter, and you're meant to last. It's like a destiny kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So 缘 means encountering. It means the fate to encounter. But fun is kind of like more lasting. It's like it should last forever. So in Chinese, there is a saying. There's like a lot of people, they fall in love, they get to meet, they have that encounter, they have the first part, but they don't have the last part. It's like they have the fate and encountering. They meet the right person. It seems like the right person, but they just don't have that. You know, it's just not meant to be in a sense. And I think it goes back to what you're saying. I think the root cause of that really is just about compatibility. It's like you can love each other so much.
Yeah.
The love can be real, but it's just that when you put two together under the same roof, it's just not gonna work.
I mean, no doubt, compatibility is really important. But the other token, like I've always been very fascinated by arranged marriages. But I'm not mentioning about the ones that's extreme. You know, I'm not talking about like child brides and things like that before anyone gets upset about it. I'm just talking about the ones that's actually worked out really well. And I just find it like super, super fascinating that how they managed to do it. And I actually do want to kind of interview a couple of people that, you know, who have managed to work it. And I was talking to my mom, for example, the times that they used to have those like handkerchiefs actually, or like love notes. And then if somebody likes somebody like in the school ground or university or something like that, apparently they used to like have a little note or a handkerchief, like they would just drop it. And that's how my dad and my mom actually started like that, apparently. But it's a very conservative country. Like there's no way on earth that they would let people living together, but one way or another, like they make it work. I think it's the modern times is fantastic. I think we are very lucky that we have options. But I just wonder sometimes, do we just take things granted a little bit too much because we're quite lucky? You know, we can move together. You know, we can go on holidays, and you know, we can have children without marriage and things like that. I do wonder sometimes these kind of things makes us less patient, and because of that, we just feel a bit like bit of, I don't know. I know that's a little bit extreme, but it's like a microwave meals. You know, in the past that they didn't have microwave meals, so they used to buy it, and they need to be healthy. They need to prepare from fresh. So it took time. So it's kind of like it was a nutrition. It was time, and it was effort and everything else. But now that we can just chuck something in the microwave, like in 2 minutes, it's all done. So I'm not saying it is. I'm just like thinking out loud. Because how interesting it is, like where we can access things so much easier, and technology is amazing. Divorce rates are higher and higher, and it's not just divorce rates are high, people don't get married. So isn't it interesting that it's not like marriage rates are high and the divorce rates are high? Not that many people getting married, but divorce rates is high. So it's oh shit, this is like a double-edged, you know. So I do wonder, and this is a question I ask for myself as well. Like whenever I say something, I'm you know, I ask that question for myself first. You know, I'm just thinking like if I was living in my mother's times, I wonder if my approach to dating in men would be different. I wonder if I would be as extremely as picky. Like, I'm not that picky, I guess. Like I have high standards, but I think that some people are just super picky, and because of my work that I obviously hear behind the scenes, the truth of the whole thing, that sometimes like people give up too easy as well. I don't know where that image, I guess again, is the Hollywood movies and things like that. But then again, our mother's times, like they had it as well. At some point, clearly people have this image in their head that if it's meant to work, it's meant to work, and then that needs to be perfect. But I think one of the best examples for me, at least, to give that is like getting fit. When we want to get fit, we know that it's going to take a while and it needs consistency. You know, we need to show up, we need to do the work each time, like we need to do different things. And the minute we stop working out, we know we're going to go back. So we don't just work out like 6 months. Yes, if the aim is like to have a six pack, whatever it is, we can do that. But if we stop doing that, if you stop working out and going to the gym, eating healthy, we're going to go back what it was before. So I don't know why when it comes to relationships, we think that after like 3 months, 6 months in a year, there is no work. Like it should work itself out. There is somewhere, there is as a mixed message that allowing people to think that if it's meant to be, meant to be. Maybe there are for some people, no doubt about it. It's a bit like for some people that they can eat whatever they want, they will never get fat, and then they always have the six pack. But how many of them?
Very rare.
Very rare. So it's the same thing. How many people like meet with somebody and then they live happily ever after? So when it comes to the relationships, like when I say it's important to do the work, some people just get really frustrated about it. I'm like, well, it's really up to you, because it's amazing. It's two-way street. So, for example, when it comes to personal development or individual thing, even that, like, there's no like total mastery. There's always improvement. There's always improvement. There's always improvement. There's always something else. There's always something else, and it's okay. It's like there isn't any where that we need to get to, that there's the life is going to be perfect. What we're going to do after that? I'm just going to just sit down. That would be rather depressing. So there's always something else. So I'm not sure where the idea comes from that when things get difficult, when it gets challenging in the relationship, so that's not meant to be, because if it did, we wouldn't have these challenges. Maybe this just gives you opportunity to grow. Maybe this is the time that somebody is holding a mirror for you, you know, so you can do the healing, you can make this work. But then again, I'm not talking about abusive relationships. That's something completely different. Toxic abusive relationships, this is not part of the conversation that I'm having. So clearly that we need to get out of that as soon as possible. But it's in the same token when it comes to dating as well, you know. It's a lot of people just can't even be bothered, because but then like they don't have any problem like right left swipe this and that and just go to dates. And I'm like, so what's the intention behind it? You want to mess around? But don't say that you want to be in a relationship. Don't say that you want something special while you're actually all you want to do is just swipe this left and right. Because I'm like, do you understand how much of a pressure you put in for somebody else, like to deliver for you, to prove that they're worthy? What are you doing in return? Like, what do you bring to the table?
Would you say that it's a mixture of, because of the current generation we live in, a lot of people actually have this entitlement mindset, like as if like they deserve love and they don't actually have to do anything about it. They don't have to work for it. You know, I hear this so many times. It's like, well, if he loves me, I don't need to change. You know, I hear this so many times. It's not just like from the girl to the boy aspect. It's the guy as well. You know, the guy says the same thing. It's like, well, you know, if it's meant to be, then I don't need to do much about it. You know, it will happen naturally. I hear this from one of my boys, like one of my boys. Like, it's like, I'm just gonna leave it to see, you know, if it's meant. You know, I'm just gonna let things be natural. I thought, you're not gonna get the girl. If that's your attitude, you're not gonna get her.
Isn't it interesting if we go back to the same example? Because sometimes when it's relationships and people get triggered, and you know, sometimes because the emotion is attached, they can't see the bigger picture. That's why I always go back to Jim example. and I always go back to a different example. So, you know, if you just see it like as a business, okay, let's say that I want to have a successful business. I set up the business and I said, well, I just posted one thing on social media. I put the website out there. If people see it, they will see it. And if they want to work with me, they will work with me. You know, if they're not, like, if it's not meant to be, oh my God. Well, I guess some people doing that as well, no doubt about it. And then that business never worked. But if somebody really wants to work that business, like, we know that it's going to take time. We know that it's going to take patience. We know that we need to learn different things. We know that we need to try different tools and techniques and see the different things. And we need to be prepared to rejection. We need to be prepared like different things. So there's a lot of growth and there's a lot of things. So that's okay when it comes to the business. But that's okay when it comes to the building an ideal body or healthy body. So it's the same thing. It's not like I just went to the gym, I worked out once, I use all the machines, I've done all the weights, and that day I ate salad and lots of vegetables. I'm still not fit. That's not meant to be. If it meant to be, like, that would be enough, wouldn't it? But some people, when I said that that's extreme, but it's not. It's just a perception. It's just the perception. It just shows that how much you think that how much you think it takes a work to build a healthy body and fit body and strong body. How long does it take to build a successful business? But when it comes to the relationship, she's just difficult. Oh, he was just annoying. Like, it's just not worth it. Well, it's the same thing. It's just how you see it. It's just the meaning you give it to it. And this, we all know that, is coming from somewhere. There's a conditioning, there's a belief that is like, it should be that way. Who said it? I'm really curious. And I don't want to blame all the Hollywood movies, because we're all grown ups and we should really take full responsibility of it. I watched a lot of cartoons, and, you know, I used to love Smurfs, and I never thought that I would be blue. So after, for a while, that we just need to accept the fact that these are cartoons and these are Hollywood movies, and we just need to grow up and take responsibility of what we have. But this is one thing that I found it so interesting. When it comes to dating and relationships, people only give like maybe 1% or 2%. That's it. And then they complain that, you know, they're single and the relationship doesn't work. Where are all the men? You know, like, where are all the good women? They were there, but you couldn't even see it, because you got bored so quickly. You just wanted to move and just went to the next one, next one. And then the whole concept of the one got away. I was like, dude, you just missed it.
Yeah. And then there's also the friend zone you know, that we have that as well. I saw a meme. This was so funny the other day about, it was a meme, right? And it was about a woman like praying to God. It's like, God, why haven't you sent the man that like my dream man who loves me yet?
Yeah.
And then the response was, I did, and you called him your friend. It was just so funny. I was just like, yep.
That's true. That's true.
That is very true. It does happen very, very often. It's like, that person's like the ideal type. Like, we all see it from the outside, and they're like, "Oh, that guy, yeah, he's just a friend," and everyone's like, "What?" It's like, he was like the perfect, like, not perfect, but like, he was the ideal match for you. Why did you? And she goes, "Oh no, I just treat him like a good friend." It's like,
I think what happens is, at some point, they have this image in their head. And this is the conversation I have with a lot of my clients when I work with them, beliefs about relationships and dating and men or women, whatever. They believe that their ideal person should look in a certain way, and she or he will be in a certain way. So when the one for them, if you like, the one, or the one that they could experience however uses, if there is no such a thing as the one, when that person shows up, because it doesn't fit with what they think it should look like, they miss it, and then they call it friend.
Yeah.
But then, one of the biggest things all coaches and relationship therapists and experts ever want to suggest: marry your best friend. Your best friend will see who you are, but obviously you need to have a sexual attraction and you have the compatibility. Like if you have zero, like, don't even try it. Like it would be
Yeah.
very uncomfortable, and pretty sure that would be really no go there.
I do have a follow-up question to that, but before that, I want to acknowledge all the audience here because there's quite a few questions for you as well. So let's take time to go through some of them. And so Andrea says, like, you know, being in a 12-year relationship and marriage, I can say that communication, respect, and trust are really important.
Mhm.
So those three things.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that
Respect, especially like for me, like all of them, I completely agree. I mean, she's expert in her own way anyway on the marriage of 12 years, so it comes with that. But one thing stands out when you say that from that list, is respect. This is one thing a lot of people miss out. Like so many people focus on how to keep love alive. My suggestion is that let's focus how to keep love and respect alive.
Mhm.
yeah.
And I know this. And I just had a session today just about that. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it just happens all the time. He lost it with his girlfriend. And literally one of the questions that I asked, I said, do you respect her? And he said, not for a long time. And I was like, when did you lose it? And then I noticed that, again, everything I say doesn't one size fit all, but I'm just sharing my experience. There's a real issue when men lose respect to women. And there's a real issue if women lose trust men because he didn't act with integrity. My experience, these two are massive. Like, for example, men said something he would do, you know, he didn't. I'm not talking about like emptying dishwasher or I'm not talking about that, you know. I'm talking about something, it meant a lot for the woman and she communicated that and he didn't. Or he acted out of integrity for his own thing. You know, for women, that is just so important. And in my experience, you know, like, yes, men love sex and want all that. But what I noticed that if a man respect their partner, the way they treat that woman, the way that they communicate with that woman, it's another level. I mean, you guys as men, just, I don't know if you guys agree.
No, I can confirm that it's true. I can definitely confirm that it's true. Yeah.
Trust is a big one for me. I suppose if trust wasn't a major factor, me and Pauline wouldn't be together for 10 years and now engaged, obviously. You know, trust is a huge thing, especially being a long distance relationship the way we have it.
Yeah.
For 10 years, right? Yeah, it's about an hour and a half each way. Each time we try and see each other or spend time with each other. So, you know, trust is a huge one, you know, and especially the line. Sorry?
That takes time too, as well, isn't it? It's not like you say to someone straight away, I trust you. Trust builds with small things and consistently.
Which is what I was going to build up to was, you know, the line of work that we work in personal development. You know, majority of my clients are female. Like 90% of my clients are female. Like there must be a huge trust in the, especially the work that we do. Right, it's very intimate. It's very personal. So there's, you know, huge trust needs to be involved in terms of she has to trust what I do and everything that I do. Right, and then also same goes for me. I have to trust her with everything that I have, and just respect, and also respect each other's time. And when we do get to spend time with each other, is cherish every moment that we get to have it, and make the most of it as well, because it's not something that we get to do as of yet, to have, you know, spend daily time together as much as we want to. But it's like you said, it takes work. It takes work, and we're prepared to do that, and that's why it's working.
Yeah, exactly. It takes time. Perfect relationships, or the healthiest relationships, don't just build over time. This is one thing that it challenges me. Like, what's the rush? What's the rush? People say, I'm looking for the one. That means you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody. Why are you getting impatient in 3 months? Why are you
Jumping one after another.
Yeah, why we're losing in 6 months? Stay like, oh, I'm just sorting it. No, if you sort it at the beginning of the relationship. You sort it. You just, it's not compatible. It's not this. It's not that. But if you are with someone for 6 months, unless it's like major, like break the trust and disrespect or like super extreme things, just give it time. Like, what's the rush? Like, you're talking about lifetime, but you got already bored like in 6 months. That should be an indication maybe this is not going to be the lifetime. Maybe you're not looking for a lifetime.
Oh, this is a question from Gabrielle.
Explain what you think love is. It's a great question. We actually talked about this before. In my experience, and also like my personal belief, love is actually freedom and acceptance and a lot of forgiveness. Love is literally just seeing that person who they are in the truest form and just totally give them space to be imperfect and just be able to forgive the mistakes and done with the good intentions and give incredible amount of freedom to be that person, to be themselves, because a lot of people attach to the person to keep it close. But honestly, again, I keep saying that my work and my experience is one thing I've seen. If you give them freedom, let them go wherever they want to go. When they want to choose to come, when they choose to come back, when they choose to be with you, there's nothing like it. And that's, for me, that's real love. Where is the freedom that is it just creates conscious choice. Again, we can go back to the whole concept of unconditional love. Again, I'm quite cautious when we talk about unconditional love because there's a lot of distortion around that. But unconditional love is you're free to do whatever you want, whatever you think is best for you. But that doesn't mean, of course, like physically, emotional, like doing things and verbally saying that. But I think unconditional love is a very sensitive and interesting concept. And I really don't know that many people actually know exactly and really practice unconditional love, because it does trigger every single belief system, ego, and everything like out of us to experience that unconditional love. But love is, for me, equals freedom. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, sis. I absolutely agree with you on that aspect. I mean, the closest thing to unconditional love, of course, as anyone would agree, is a genuine mother's love for the child, right? Because no matter what, the mother will, a genuine mother love. Yeah. I know there are some exception mothers out there, but I'm talking about for majority of the world's population, a genuine mother love for the child is unconditional, because they love that child simply because they are their child. That's it, and regardless of their flaws, imperfection, no matter what, the mother will always love that child, and that is the perfect example of what real love is. And I believe, I think our journey here on this world really is trying to get to that space of unconditional love where we could apply that to everyone. Personally speaking, I mean, my dad just passed away, but I'm always going to be grateful for the lesson that he has brought upon me, and that is he taught me what unconditional love is from an indirect point of view, right? Because I had to really learn to love him for who he is, with all his flaws, with all of his imperfection. And no matter how much I used to hate him, no matter how much, issues I used to have with him, at the end of the day, he's still my dad. And it was really a very powerful lesson that I've learned from him. So I believe, to answer that question, you're right, sis. It's that. It's acceptance, it's the freedom, it's letting that person be, just letting that person be who they need to be or who they are. And that is love in itself. So I'm totally with you on that one for sure.
Yep, I agree. Loving without just loving who they are for, what they are,
Yeah.
and let them be.
And there was this this thing I saw that someone once said, don't fall in love with someone's potential.
Yeah.
Love who they currently are.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna fall in love with that person, make sure you're in love with the person that they are right now. Don't
Mhm.
fall in love with their potential, because they may never reach that potential.
Yeah, that's it. Some just, it doesn't matter whether they get there or not, right? You love them for who they are.
Exactly. So even if they don't change, if they decide not to change, well,
Yeah,
you still
yeah.
love them.
Of course.
But it's really interesting, like if we go back to the mother's love for a child, when we see these healthy mothers, like they're really conscious and they just give so much freedom to their children. They love it to be themselves and play, get muddy, get dirty, do color things. And again, that's what I said, there's a lot of forgiveness because mothers like do forgive a lot. But we see those kids grow, glow, explore, feel so strong. They just turn around, and even when watch it, they turn around, look at it. His mom is there. I'm good, like I'm safe. I can go. I can explore. I can be the best version of myself. And I think that we all little girls and boys, and when we experience unconditional love, I really do think that I don't know if I ever experienced unconditional love, to be honest with you. But what I know for sure that when I experience situations where I'm completely accepted for who I am without any shame, without any judgment, without any threats and things like that or comparison, I really do thrive to become the best version of myself. It's almost like all my blockages, everything, all my resistance and things they just dissolve. And I'm like, right, let's do this. Let's experience joy. Life is great. Like I'm accepted. I'm this. So I can thrive and I can glow and, I can just go out there. And I really do think that it's the same thing. And it doesn't matter how old we are, we experience the same thing in whatever the relationship dynamic is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So there's your answer, Gabrielle.
Aslam says she's been married for 38 years. Yes,
Wow,
love
look
and
at
respect
that.
is important.
That is
That's
awesome. Congratulations,
Oh, you know what? Yeah, bro. You know that last Facebook post you posted about, that meme you posted about? Oh, fine. Do what you want, and then there was like, no, don't do what you want. Just don't blink, do not breathe. And that post.
Oh, the military post, right?
Yeah. You know the post of basically that, and then you ask for like any more.
Where the woman says, "Do what you want." Fine, do what you want.
Yeah,
do what
basically
you
that's
want.
a signal that says do not do what you want.
Fine, do you want? Do whatever you want, and then it goes, boys, abort mission. Abort mission.
Do not do what you want.
Do not do what you want. Abort mission now.
so for the audience, so for those audience to fit the audience in, I then went on a row. I went on a snowball thing. I then posted like at least 10 different comments on that as well. I started sharing my experience about all of the mixed signals that girls start putting. And Aslam was like, I've been married for 38 years, and I have not had the experience that A Clock has mentioned.
Yeah, that was.
And I'm like, boy, Aslam, I love you, bro. I wish that's the kind of relationship I'm looking for.
One way
I've been married for 38 years and I have never had the kind of experience that Iklok have went through. Wow.
There you go. Sounds like you're just start, bro.
Good on you, Aslam. Good on you and your wife. Loving the both of you. Stay strong, brother.
Exactly. But you know what? We talk about love and marriages, and lately that I've been talking about this a lot to my clients and a few conversations I have. I don't know if everybody had to get married. I don't know if everybody had to be in a relationship. I really do think that some of us just here to explore ourselves, and sometimes like that comes into different aspects of it. And Andrea says, I think trust leads from a good communication. No doubt, no doubt. The better good communication is, then you can understand, okay, you understand what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, and then like that's build trust. No doubt about it, 100%. Living together, I see it as a first proper test for a couple. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, Egg touched upon this, I think, just before Andrea came on. Living together was a good first proper test for a couple.
Yeah, it's something I recommend all my friends from now on. Is like before you get married, please just do yourself a favor and just live together under the same roof for 6 months and see how it goes. But it's my personal recommendation to all of my close friends and families from now on.
For sure, like that's a really important thing as well, because I think it's like again goes back to compatibility. I think even just a small things could be an issue, you know. I'm a neat freak, for example. I would never be compatible with somebody who's completely messy. It just wouldn't work. Like, as much as I love that person, unless like we have a living mate. It's like constantly like cleaning, but it's the truth. That how do you know that unless you live with somebody for that?
Yeah,
their habits and what they do and how they behave and yeah, I think it's really important. It's especially like, you know, in Britain we can do it. In Turkey, I think still like it's a tricky thing. But
well, it's like living habits, isn't it? It's and then you got sometimes you got cultural differences, right?
that's massive. That's what I was trying to say.
Cultural differences and cultural upbringing and things like that. That's when it gets super tricky.
I always say that we had this conversation in private many times with Egg. We can't talk about dating or relationships without talking about culture. I guess like if people who grow up, like if they're British and they grow up there, it might be something different. But I think especially like London is such a fascinating place. Like you can find somebody from every background, like any background, like it would be in London, and it's just so important. I would say like if anybody going to live in together, like the culture, like it's important to expose each other's culture and really kind of understand, because sometimes like in the long term that just doesn't become an issue, it almost still become an issue, you know, like for example I think this is really important example because I never thought about it when I got married. Like my ex-husband, he was Irish Catholic, but he was British. You know, I never saw him like Irish. I never saw him as Catholic. I never see myself like Muslim because I don't practice, like he doesn't practice. But I mean, we just had a conversation, like, and he actually wanted to have it like Catholic ceremony, and then my mom got upset about it. She's like why like has to be Catholic? Like he's not even religious, and so then we do our traditions. And I was like, Mom, you didn't even care about it until I say that. So it's kind of like got a little bit of a power dynamic. So then we start to talk about like in the future, like if you have a son, what would that be? Would your circumstances wouldn't? I was like, well, I'm not even pregnant. We're not even married yet. You know, what the hell? No, but then I realized how important it is. And these things, you don't think about it, but these things are so important. Like religion, it's so important. It's not something you can deny it. It's like, even, and it's weird. It's like you can say you're not religious. You can say that you're not really like, you're such a modern this, and then you don't have your culture. But, you know, like when you get married, when you have children, things do change. So these things are really important. I was shocked. I was like, what is like, where did that come from? I was like, you never went to church and I never went to mosque. But now we just need to, are we going to, what is this? So I think that some people, sometimes we go, oh, we're so in love, we're going to make it work. You might not. These things are, these things are just so important. This could make it or break it.
Yeah, because that touches upon belief system, isn't it? It's more, is it really is a belief system kind of thing. But at the same time, you're also touching upon not just the cultural beliefs. It's more like the parents' beliefs as well.
Yeah,
Because
culture,
maybe the child, maybe the guy doesn't give a crap about his religion, but his parents do, and he wants to keep his parents happy.
yeah,
So you gotta take into these consideration.
that's what I'm saying. So it's actually, it's just not a small thing. Like I
Yeah.
always think that if anybody will ever date with anyone, or not alone, like living together or getting married with somebody else from a different culture, different religion, even that person doesn't practice, it's really important to have these conversations. Like
Yeah.
Andrea says, that communicate, like talk
Yes.
about it as much as you can, as in detail as you can, because these stuff will come up.
Yeah. Andrea also said if you don't kill each other in the first 12 months, then you can get married. I think I can agree with you on that one.
That's a good indicator.
Yeah, that's very accurate. That's true. That's true.
That's a good indicator.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Right. So I had a follow-up question, and I got man, this is the problem. I don't remember what the follow-up question was about.
See, this is what happens when you break out of your the question zone, right?
Yeah, because I had a follow-up question that was related to what we were speaking about earlier on, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, keep talking, and then it will come to me.
We were talking about respect, we were talking about trust, we were talking about communication, we were talking about living together, boundaries.
Was it before? It was before.
I think it has something to do with arranged marriages. I think it was on the topic of arranged marriage and along that line.
I'm fascinated by arranged marriages. I can't believe how many people actually are happily married through arranged marriages. But people, like, so many people can't even, the people they meet with, they can't even stand each other from that. But then I'm always fascinated. I don't have much research around that, so I'm not an expert, so I can't even comment anything. This is something I really want to find out more about it. But I do wonder, like, when in the arranged marriages, clearly that's going to be some different psychology. There's a different thing, because clearly it does work.
Well, the thing is, it's probably religion again, upbringing, isn't it? Cultural religion, and there must be some sort of value or teachings through it about arranged marriages and stuff.
It's probably the compatibility thing, because you're growing up with the same religion, same family background, same cultural upbringing.
Your values and belief
Your
systems,
values, your mindset,
similar.
everything is all the same, similar, if not the same, at least close to being similar. So I think the compatibility is really, really high for that.
Yeah. So then you get your cultural upbringing, your culture, living together, the habits, the things you do on a daily basis. It's very similar. You probably practice similar routines. So there's probably a lot of higher compatibility rate.
But isn't it fascinating that I say there is, like, they haven't even dated, they haven't held hands, and sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm always fascinated whenever I hear some of my friends with arranged marriages and they're very happy to have loads of kids, and just like,
that's what I mean. That's the bit that this is something.
That's what I'm fascinated about as well. It's like, wow, like there's no even like they probably had a few dates to get to know each other before they got married, but other than that, it's like nope.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just the only thing that I can think that I guess, like, they are really patient and they give more time. You should really have Bali in here. Should be there.
I'll tell you something. Along the line of arranged marriage, my friend, I'm talking about modern society, current generation, a friend who's similar age to me. He had an arranged marriage, but it wasn't planned since birth. It was a sudden one. It was one of those really sudden ones. In his late 20s, I remember. He just went back to Bangladesh to and to see this arranged marriage, like to see his potential wife. And like they saw each other once or twice, and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get married." and actually, they're very sweet together. It's just like That's amazing.
Do you think at any point, because I do talk about this a lot, it's about decision. It's about saying that, fine, I'm going to make this work. And then I wonder that with so much certainty, with so much commitment, and that decision that we will make this work, at least on my part of it, I'm going to make this work, you know, no matter what happens, like no matter what it takes. I wonder if that actually makes a big impact on that. Because I know for men, that's massively important for you guys to have that decision, say that this is the woman that I want to commit. You guys change. Like something happens to you guys. It's like you guys suddenly from little boys become a grown-up man. And it's like, it's really hot, you know?
I personally think, yes, that does play an important part, but at the same time, we cannot discount compatibility issue, because no matter how...
No, there's no doubt about it. There's a compatibility there.
Because if you're incompatible, you're incompatible, no matter what you say.
Yeah, you can be compatible, but if you don't have any sexual attraction, that would be quite tricky, wouldn't it? Because then you become friends.
Not even that. I mean, like, you could have the sexual attraction, you can be, you know, you can really love each other, and you can really want to make it work, but there's just so many other different aspects that just make you two hard work. Like, you know, some relationship is just hard work. It's really hard work. You can love each other, you both really love each other, but like you say, there's no, like, maybe the respect is not even there. Because
that's what I'm saying. I wonder it's because they decide and then they just have 100% like commitment.
No, I know personally there have been, you know, not myself included, but a lot of a couple of my friends where, like, they just say, you know what, they even admitted, like, they think they chose the wrong person, because even though they love each other very much and they have kids as well, they have children, so they can't leave, right?
What,
because being China.
Sorry? Arranged marriage you're talking about?
No, like just normal.
No,
normal
I'm
marriage.
talking about the arranged marriages. How does it work?
Right.
About that, I'm still there. I'm not talking about you know, compatibility and everything, you know. But anyway, you think that
I agree with you in a sense that I think no matter what, we still gotta make that decision to say that, you know, no matter what happens, we're gonna have to make it work. And that does play an important part. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah,
I think it only comes to a certain amount of, you know.
Yeah, but I noticed that, like, especially with men, like, if they really mean it, you guys show up very different. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's all on almost like overnight from little boy.
It's the responsibility. It's taking the responsibility and choosing to step up at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what's the decision. Once you do that, I guess that's like raising the standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, sis. I had this conversation with a friend of mine literally 2 nights ago, and it's the same thing that we're talking about here. And I will say this: if the love and respect, and by the way, I'm saying this from a man's point of view only, okay? Yeah. Just from a man's point of view. As a man, if the love and respect, no, you will agree with me on this as well. If the love and respect is there, okay, if the love and respect is there, everything is fine. Because I said to my friend, I said, if a man really loves you and respects you, he will be curious. He will want to know more about you. He will want to know your upbringing and your cultural difference. He will do whatever he can to respect that. But if he doesn't care about that, then it's a sign that he actually doesn't even respect or love you.
Mm.
So when the love and respect is there, all of this is a given. Everything that we've been talking about, the decision that we make is like, we're going to make this work. It's a given. Because we want to make it work. If we really love that person, if we really respect that person, we are naturally curious, right? Because you were talking about the drive, and that's the curiosity. It's like, what makes a man attractive to a girl to say that I want to know more about her and I want to respect her and I want to make sure that, you know, we're good together. It's the love and respect at the end of the day. But mainly, like you said, it's the respect. It's mainly the respect. I personally do not.
My experience,
Yeah, I personally don't believe that love can exist without respect. Because you can love someone, but if you don't respect them, then it's kind of like I'll love you from a distance kind of love, you know. But if you need to live together and be with together, and then respect, I would say it plays a much more important part than love. I would say respect comes first before love.
Yeah, well, be careful.
That's why there's the saying bros before hoes, right? So as men, there's the saying that bros before hoes. Because why? Why?
Right. It's exactly
Why?
the same thing.
Why? You have to think about it. Why do guys say that? Because with men, with brothers, there's the whole massive amount of respect for one another. That's why. So I do believe as men, we put respect before love. Maybe different for women. But as men, I can gladly tell you.
Because because for bizarre reason, like I'm working with more men now than women. It's just become so clear to me, like for the last year or two, that men, again, if anyone is watching that, I'm not saying for everyone, I'm saying my experience and, like what I have seen. It seems like men who has respect for the woman that they're with, it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
It's a very different dynamic, but they could love, and if they don't respect, it's like they almost like they do everything half-assed. It's like they don't live in their potential, and then they're not really bothered about things.
So Wong, hey Wong. Yes, I do have facial hair.
That's George. That's George one, by the way.
Is that George? Oh, George, my man. So George said, unless you're a psychopath who controls the opposite sex, referring to the book and movie Gone Girl, this sort of relationships do happen. Yes, that's in the space of dysfunctional relationship dynamic. So yeah, that is a very different kind of.
That's an intense book, and it's a very intense example.
Yeah, that's a very so George. We're not talking about toxic relationship or dysfunctional dynamics. That does exist.
We're far from that spectrum.
Yeah, we can talk about even like unconditional love. We're not talking about any kind of abuse. We're not talking about any kind of toxicity, because they're a different ball game, and we need to be super careful when we talk about those dynamics.
Yeah, that's not on our theme for tonight. That spectrum.
So George says disagree. It all down to one's perception of love. Depends if they perceive respect as a mutual agreement or a type of submission. Yeah, I agree with you on that in a sense. Look, at the end of the day, love is love. It depends how you understand love and what you think love is at the end of the day, right?
Well, it's the meaning you give it, isn't it?
It's the meaning you give it. Like, that's why we're talking about love and relationship, because it can mean anything, and it could absolutely be.
That's why this particular topic, like, everybody is passionate about it. Everybody has pain, but at the same time, this is one topic, it triggers everyone. Like, we can talk about business, nobody would get triggered. We could talk about health, nobody would get triggered. But we're talking about intimacy, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about this. People get triggered, and it's okay.
And it's okay.
Which is what we mentioned last time with Ick, was was it love and money? Love and money. It's the two biggest things that people get crazy about over.
Yes, love and money is the two things that brings the most tension in everyone else, which is why people get triggered when it comes to topic of money and love. And the reason for that is because people get personal. People take it personal. When people talk about when people talk about love in just general, like when you try to generalize something, people will take it personal, because what about this? What about my experience of love? And everyone has a different experience of love from their own personal experience. None of them should be discounted. None of them should be discounted, because it's all real. It's all real experiences, and we're all here to learn from one another, which is why we're talking about it, because it's a fun topic, I believe.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was a good one to talk about.
Yeah, and that's why, like we said, that there's no one size fit all. Like there
Exactly.
are thousands of different relationship dynamics, and like ultimately, Trust me, like I know. Every time I open my mouth, I trigger people because I talk about relationships and dating.
Yeah, but I want to answer George's his disagreement because I think he probably just joined now. My perception of love, or my understanding of love, George, is just like what Dilara said earlier on. Is love, when you love someone, you just let them be. You let them be who they are. You love them for who they currently are, right? Even with all their flaws and imperfection. And if you just let them be, and you allow and you accept that, and you forgive them on that, I absolutely agree with Dilara on that. That's love. That's love. But if there's no respect, respect is something else. Respect needs to be earned. Respect needs to be earned, because you can lose respect for someone, and then if you want to earn that respect back, it takes work. So respect is earned. Love is a given. You can give love to people, and that's why I say, if you love someone but you don't respect them, you can't live with them. You will have to love them from a distance, right? Like one of a typical example would be parents and children. Parents and their child, when they don't get along with one another, they just can't be under the same roof. They can love each other because they're still child and parents, but there's no respect. If there's no respect, it's just be like, Dad, Mom, I love you, but I can't see you for, like, I'll see you once every year in Christmas, something like that, right? Because there's no respect. But love will always be there. So, I don't know what your perception of love is. I don't know what your understanding of love is. But love is, to me, is just letting someone be who they are and forgiving and accepting them for that. So I hope that clarifies things. And that's why I say, as a intimate relationship, personally, this is just personal opinion, by the way. Personally, I feel that in an intimate relationship, respect comes first. Because if there's no respect, you just can't be together. Because otherwise it'll be like, I love you from a distance.
Yeah, I feel like it's very strong when it comes to relationships as well. Because we can have friends that we could love them. They could be awesome. They could be great. They could be super kind, super, compassionate and things like that. But for some reason, if we don't have respect for them, I think the relationship dynamic would be really, really, really different comparing to have a friendship that, whereas actually you have utmost respect, but at the same time you have love for that person. It's very different.
Yeah, exactly. George said, all love, in my opinion, has a condition, because respect is also a condition. Yes. So you're talking about conditional love. Yeah. I'm talking about unconditional love. A genuine mother's love for their child is unconditional.
Well, he also says the two words he hates most is unconditional love, because often love, money don't mix well unless it's going on towards an upwards trend.
I will challenge you, George. I will say this. This might trigger you. I hope it won't offend you. It might trigger you, but I will challenge you, George. The only reason why you say that is maybe because you have not experienced unconditional love. That's all.
But that goes back to the same thing. I think unconditional love, it's a very interesting concept.
How you define unconditional love, right?
It is how you define it.
It's very difficult.
You got to be very, very careful about that one.
Yes.
Exactly, because I think like if George is like saying that in a way that George, I can relate to what you're saying. Not just a coach, like as myself, like in my personal life, that I had a really hard time with the whole concept of unconditional love, because I felt like, and I was this bizarre relationship that the man I was with, the boy, I should really say, that he was demanding unconditional love from me. He was saying that's all I want, and I was like, well, that is, but then this is like by default that this is not unconditional love, because you're demanding this from me, like unconditional love. I should be able to give it to you, and then because it was so abusive, I got into my head, and I'm like, am I not loving unconditional? Like, am I not doing this? Am I not doing that? And then I got into that spiral, and then by the end of it, like I was like, I think this whole concept of unconditional love is very toxic, and I was like, that just opens all the doors for abuse, and it's kind of like especially like emotional and psychological, because I found myself constantly trying to make him happy, to prove to him that how much he's loved, and I loved him. I would do anything, he could do everything, whatever it was, and it turned so toxic. It turned a complete mess. After that, it took me a while to really even to hear the words of unconditional love. Because anybody said that, you know what, just shut up. You know, like this is ridiculous. Like bunch of hippies are talking about that. Because some people using that unconditional love, but not what the real unconditional love is, they're using that for not pleasant things, you know, to get what they want, to abuse and to different things, you know, that's completely toxic. But when we think about unconditional love, is then what I understood is that I can love you unconditionally, but I choose not to be with you. Like it's then it's kind of like a game changer for me. Like then I was like, actually, yeah, because a lot of love is actually conditional because of the way we grow up. And when I say we, like I'm not saying everyone. I'm not saying that. You know, some people grow up in incredibly healthy families and they really understand the concept of unconditional love. But I think most of us can remember when we were a child, even just to say, if you eat your food, if you finish your dinner, you'll get this. You know, if you do this, you get that. If you're a good girl, if you do this, you get this. So there's a lot of like a negotiation. There is a lot of if you do this and do that. And then when we grow up, I think that applies is if you love me, then you would move in with me. I don't know. If you love me, you would buy me flowers. If you love me, you would ask me to marry you. You know, if you love me, that you wouldn't go out with your friends. So you do that because you do. So that kind of like the same thing spread out, but that's not with the bad intention. It's because it's not that many of us understand what unconditional love is. Then when we get into that concept of it, if we experience toxicity, we just don't want to do anything with that. And I do understand, and I totally, in the personal level, can relate what George says. But ultimately, I made peace with that, with all the work that I've done. Unconditional love exists, but that's why it's something triggers us a lot. And this is something I choose to practice myself from different places. But this is a belief that we cannot give anyone, and we cannot love anyone unconditionally unless we love ourselves unconditionally.
Yes.
But then that's the whole ball game, because you know that's opens all the doors of self-love and self-esteem and things like that, because that was really healing for me in that relationship, because I realized that this guy I was with, constantly demanding literally unconditional love from me, and then I just realized that this guy didn't even love himself. He didn't even like himself. And I was like, how did I not see how messed up this thing was? And then I realized that I cannot love anyone unconditionally unless I love myself unconditionally.
Yes.
It really doesn't work. And that's what I'm saying. I don't know how many people truly do experience unconditional love. I don't know.
Not many people. No, not many people. And George actually said, I agree with you, madam. Sorry, I don't know your name. I think all love has conditions. So, George, this is Dilara, our relationship coach, and also a dear friend of
put
ours.
the names on, my bad. So I put the names on now.
She's an expert when it comes to the field of relationship, dating, and even working with men as well, specifically. And I love her to bits. I learned so much from Dilara. I learned so much from you, sis. I'm always learning from you. So thank you for being here tonight with us. So I hope we can serve you tonight, George. I hope Dilara will be able to answer a few of your questions. If you got any questions, feel free to ask her. But I totally agree with you. Not many people have experienced unconditional love, and therefore they don't believe it exists. I will personally say it does exist, because I have a mother who loves me unconditionally. I am one of the blessed and gifted ones. Jono can confirm to that. He's been to my house and he knows my mom very, very well. And I would say I am one of those very exceptionally blessed people, and I know my mom loves me unconditionally. I know it's true, but that's because, like Dilara says, she loves herself first. She loves herself unconditionally, and this is something I've learned for myself. I've learned to love my dad unconditionally. He's gone now. He's no longer in this world. But when he was in this world, He was a hard time. He gave me a hard time. I had daddy issue growing up,
Like really hard time.
like really hard time. But I learned to love him unconditionally. But like I said, I love him unconditionally. It does not mean I respect him. There's a difference. Okay, there was a big difference. I did not respect my dad, even to the day he passed away, unfortunately. But I love him unconditionally, because from my perception of love, my understanding of love is just letting someone be who they are, accepting them for who they are, where they are right now, and you forgive them. That's love. And if you can do that, bro, then you have unconditional love.
Unconditional love requires so much forgiveness.
It takes so much forgiveness. Yeah. But like Dilara said, that's something you know what? That's probably the most powerful thing you said all night, sis. To be able to have unconditional love for someone else, you got to have that unconditional love for yourself first. That is so powerful. I think if anyone wants to take away anything tonight, it will be that. It's like that will be the thing I write down tonight, and that's the thing that I will remember. It's so powerful. So powerful.
Well, this is George says, get me on webcam. A mother's love is definitely not unconditional. I definitely
maybe not yours.
I definitely did not experience unconditional love before.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, the thing is ideally this is I think this is why it's different for everyone. This type of love depends on like familiar bond, family love. Is such a hard one. Like some people would have that experience, but some won't. But in an ideal scenario, the mother would love their child unconditionally. But there are ones that obviously, we do know that isn't always the case. So,
I mean, let's face it. Anyone, physically they can, obviously, like some women can't. But I will actually had this conversation with my mother today during breakfast, and it's like people are more like in UK. Let's say like in order to get a driving license, that you have to go through quite thorough tests. They're really strict. Like even you are just like away of a millimeter or something when you park, it's quite strict. And yes, what we're doing is driving cars, and yes, we could cost someone's life. So what they do is quite right, but there are 0 tests to become a mom or to be a dad. But then you actually have this little thing is like completely innocent. It's depend on you. So this is, I know I might sound a little bit extreme, but that's one of the reasons that yes, it's true. Not every mother and every father knows how to experience unconditional love, because they don't, again, goes back to the same thing. They don't love themselves unconditional love, and they don't even know how they have that child. They don't know how to deal with it. They have no idea. They're trying to do better than maybe their parents did. But if their parents didn't do so much, then they end up projecting fears, insecurities, those kind of things. Are their parents not like that? Lots of them. I mean, one of the reasons that, coaches, therapists, and we have jobs is because the main thing we're working with family dynamics, mommy issues, daddy issues, like most of us have. And this is, when I had this conversation, especially this time here, and I had it repeatedly before as well, finally, my mom got it. I said to my Mom, you have to have these conversations, but what I want you to understand, when I share my childhood experience with you from my point of view, I'm not saying what you did was bad. I'm not saying good or bad. We need to drop that. Like, I don't want you to feel 0 guilt, because I know you did your absolute best with the best intention with everything you have. But if you keep feeling guilty, like we can't do this healing, we can't have these conversations, because all I'm trying to do not to make you feel bad. And all you're thinking, you're in your ego and you're thinking like, I could do better, like I could do this. So if you drop that, good or bad, if you just look at it like, what's the concept? Like really, lots of curiosity, try to understand, like find the fascination part of it. How fascinating it is that, like I can sit with my mom and have this conversation where she's realizing a lot of things about herself, but until the point that I explained to her, like, this is not guilt, this is not shame, this is not fault, this is not good, this is not bad. Drop all the labels. Just look at this as curiosity. Let's talk a lot of things. I'm like, I'm not perfect. Like, as a child, like there are other children that respond in a different way, and I respond in a different way. I'm like, but this is really important for us to work on these family dynamics. So, and it took me many years, and my mom is incredibly conscious, an incredible woman, you know, even with that, because she loves me so much, the thought of like she could do something wrong and she could create a trauma in my childhood, it really, it hurts her so much. But then it doesn't create space for us to have these discussions. Do you see what I mean? So, but it goes back to the same thing. Like, I know my mom, with the model of the world, with the best intention, everything, she loved me unconditionally. I didn't receive it unconditionally. Because a lot of things that I remember, there was a lot of comparison in my childhood. And Ick knows that, and I'm really honest about it. Well, one of my biggest things that I struggle with comparison. It's because that's what I used to. But this is not my mom. This is not about my mom was bad. My mom was freaking amazing woman. You know, I'm so lucky to have my mom as my mother. You know, but there's a truth of how I felt. You know, and I mean, we should be able to talk about these things, making things good or bad. So I felt like a lot of comparison. Is that unconditional love? I don't know about that, because there will be a lot of someone else's child, like, does that better, like, why can't you do it like this? When you hear these ones, but that's an unconditional love. That's something different. But does that mean she does not love me unconditionally? I don't have any answer for that, but I do understand why he's reacting, and he doesn't like that concept of unconditional love, because it's a very challenging concept, and it's not like, is that, describe it like that. It's not like Google it, what does it mean unconditional? It just doesn't work like that.
Here's so Carmen actually said, I feel like I don't love my mum, but rather I respect her. I've tried building bridges up again and again, but they just keep getting burnt. Could you talk? Do you have any maybe advice, recommendations for Carmen?
So that's a great question. Like, she has respect, but she doesn't have love. Is that what she said, or other way around?
Well, that's what she feels. Yeah, she feels like she doesn't love her mum, but rather have respect for her. So early on, she said that she doesn't live with her mum, right? Let me go back to it. So that's definitely, haven't seen her for 2 years. Yeah. I mean, Carmen, if you have a question for Dilara, or if you want to ask Dilara something, or you just want to clarify.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. But like, it did make me wonder, like, just intuitively, I'm not saying it is. I just wonder if it's actually like she has respect, or because of the tradition, because of the conditioning that she have. You have a mom, you have to respect your mother. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Just intuitively, I don't know, Carmen. Like, I do apologize that if that's not that, but I'm just curious that you don't feel love, but you have respect. I wonder, your concept of respect, it's not actual respect, but you're thinking it's coming from your conditioning. It's the belief that our parents, because they're older than us, and she's your mother, like, you should respect her.
So while Carmen, if you want to clarify this for us, and if you want to, give us a detailed question, feel free. But while we're at that, waiting for your answer and response, George said, I've discovered my mother had stored away years of lies, maybe to protect us, but now that she has gone, I am left with the feeling of sadness, anger, and questioning myself with questions like, why did you not tell me? And you told me not to hurt others. Then why the hypocrisy? And why did you become greedy and hurt your own family members? Now I've spent the last 4 years rebuilding the bridges to my family, to which I don't think could be fully formed. In bracket, I didn't say reform because that hatred of outside of the family was there before I was born. So I feel like I'm just building foundation of 36 years later. Wow, I am ranting. Triggered. Hashtag triggered. It's okay, George, bro.
George,
Guys,
I can relate to it. This is not an easy concept, and I do respect that. It goes back to you have every right to get triggered, and you have every right to disagree. You can't even just get angry at me or ick like for the things that we say. You have every right to do that because that's a deep wound. And I do appreciate that you actually feel comfortable and trust us to share that. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. But don't like I think it's perfectly fine that you feel triggered. I think it's perfectly fine that if you're triggering you, it's because that's a deep wound, and that's what I just wanted to share. Like quite honestly, just because I do this professionally doesn't mean that I figure all of that out. Like until today, that I'm still healing my mother wound as well, which she's incredible. It's hard to believe that I have that, not alone to have quite a lot of things. And all I can say to you that it just takes time. It takes patience. For me, like anyone, if you choose to go to this like healing road, like you want to do that, I would say don't just go so heavily because it gets exhausted and you might just say, so that I would say maybe just do it in chunks. But the key thing it needs to be here, you need to have a lot of compassion, and that compassion needs to come towards you. One thing that in my experience that the healing I received, and there's some healers, not all of you, but there's certain group, they call themselves like this healers and that. The biggest thing that I experienced that is lack, and for me that it just blows my mind how this can be lack, is compassion. Because healing means that you're literally going to go so deep. You're going to experience anger, maybe rage, maybe the kind of feelings for someone that you feel like you want, but in the same time you're going to feel extreme love, because this is what we feel about our parents. And then you're just gonna, if you don't work with a lot of compassion towards yourself, this is going to turn into a toxic work and you're going to struggle. It's going to take longer. So in summary, if you choose to go down this road and want to heal family dynamics and all that, family wounds, I suggest that do it in parts and do it with people that who are, at least the biggest thing that they can share with you is compassion. And make sure you work with, like, your focus needs to be self-compassion when you do healing work. Because I work with people like, even I mean, I'm so conscious now, like I could recommend a book and then that would just trigger something in them. They could just literally just go to everything wrong with me, I'm this and I'm that. I'm like, but that wasn't the intention. This is just it being curious. So try not to label things good or bad. If you experience rage, anger, like even worse feelings maybe you never experienced before, I would say don't label those feelings, don't judge them. That really doesn't say you're a bad person. That doesn't say that your mom is a bad person. Just trying to see the situation. I know it's really easy for me to say, to be fair, it's not, because I've done similar work, but obviously everyone's is different. And just be so compassionate for yourself, and just approach with curiosity, and don't go too intense. It's fascinating to see people, like how much they turn around that shadow, almost become the shadow. We don't have to become the shadow. We can acknowledge the shadow and just leave it there. So this is my biggest lesson that I learned. Incredible work that I did, like pretty much non-stop for the last 3 years. You will see things about yourself that you won't like, but in the same time, like I said, you might potentially experience extreme rage, but you might in a split second experience extreme love, especially it's about your mom. Don't judge them. Don't judge those feelings. And don't forget there's a little boy inside of you, all he wanted love. So, and he needs compassion. Just try your best to be kind to yourself.
And I want to give you credit, George, for for sharing that with us. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing. I know you made it into joke hashtag trigger and everything, and I love that that side of you. But tonight everything is it's confidential no matter what anyway, even though it's on Facebook Live. But
I don't know.
Yeah,
How
it's on Facebook Live, it's on
yeah.
YouTube.
So confidentiality is out of the window. But anyway, I just want to let you guys know. Look, there's no judgment here. There's no judgment here.
There is no
We don't
judgment.
have all the answers in the world, but it's I mean, this is the reason why Jono have these chat shows. Is to pique our curiosity at the end of the day, and it's to provide value to everyone, right?
Now, to add to George's emotions that he's going through, I can relate to this because I used to suffer extreme rage and anger and frustration as well towards my mom. Because I used to play the blame game towards my parents. I blamed them for. I used to blame them for not giving me the love that I wanted, the answers that I wanted, and I had all sorts of things that I blamed them for, and this was me pushing away responsibility, right? Because I used to be the angry child or the spoiled kid, right? And it caused me a lot of work, a lot of very conscious work, right? This is why I've always been so self-aware about my emotions and why I was so dedicated to mastering and just understanding my emotions. And I believe this was when I was like 23, 24, when we did Tony Robbins, and then obviously the whole self-awareness journey throughout is all about emotional management, right? Why am I always so angry? Why do I have this extreme depression and anger? Then I go into this extreme compassion or self-compassion to love someone so deeply, but I ignore all my deep inner anger, dark shadow feelings. And I had this just fascination about, like, I need to understand how I'm working, because it's driving me nuts. Like, literally, I'd flip out in a second, split second, like Dilara just mentioned. One extreme to another, I had no control whatsoever about my emotions. And it was destroying my friendships. It was destroying my relationships. It was destroying a lot of things around me, all areas around my life, right? I would just play the blame game. I'd be like, it's not, it's his fault or it's her fault that I'm like this or I'm going through this. Until I obviously started taking 100% responsibility about everything that's going on. And it took a lot of work for the self-love and self-compassion. And it took a long, long time for me to understand the whole forgiveness game, the whole compassion game for myself and for my parents, right? I understood that the way they're wired of not giving me the love that I wanted was because they were never given the love that we kind of think exists, right? Because back in their parents, they were escaping wars, for God's sake. They didn't have time to think about love and stuff. They just think about survival and food and work. That's all they had time for. They didn't have time to sit around and cuddle their kids and stuff like that. They're more interested in escaping bullets and bombs and being raided by army soldiers. Right? That was what our grandparents or great grandparents had to go through. And so when I understood the history and the way they lived the lifestyle and the way they were brought up, I was like, that is why our parents go through the stage of saying, did you eat yet? And that means love. To them is, have you eaten yet? Right? Have you eaten yet means I love you, and I just want to make sure you're fed and loved. That's how they show love, because food was importance. And that was their way of showing love. And even now to this day, like, my mom cooks me lunch when she sees that I haven't cooked lunch yet. And it's like, I know you haven't eaten yet. I was like, how do you know I've not eaten yet? She goes, well, nothing's being cooked and nothing's being used in the kitchen. So I know you haven't eaten yet. I can't smell anything. And I was just like, what? but that's how she shows love, and I understood that. I was like, interesting. But it took time, right? It's not easy, George. I
Yeah.
understand that for 100%. So thank you for sharing. I just had to share that part. So back
Yeah,
to Carmen.
thanks for sharing that, Jono. Thanks for sharing that.
Back to Carmen, because she has read a lot now.
So Carmen, so Carmen has said, I respect her because she had me young and obviously she tried her best raising me, and I didn't have a terrible childhood. But as a title as a mother, she definitely could have done better. I feel in regards to caring and supporting me emotionally, I guess. Well, not just emotionally. I'm not sure what the word is, but caring like you would expect from a mother.
Hmm.
It might be an Asian thing, but I feel my relationship won't build with my mother until I have a child or something. But even then, I'm not sure if I would trust her with my children.
No, I do understand that, because that's quite normal thing for her to say that, or concern, because I think would be that, well, if she didn't give me the things that I needed, why would I actually trust her with my own child? Because then my child will have to go through same things that I had to go through, so I wouldn't do that. So I totally understand, where that question coming from, but goes back to then original question. To be fair, it's really interesting, because I'm so familiar with Asian family dynamics in an interesting way now, because of the strong traditions, and it's true, actually. Like, it's father is always right and mother is right. So it's actually, in a way, she confirms what I said in a different way, because that's one of the things. But I believe that the original question was that she respects her mom and she tries but she struggles loving her, and she's been trying, and it hasn't been working. So what I would say, times like that, she's experiencing pain, at times potential like extreme pain, because it's anything related to our families. We're incredibly sensitive. Like, that's what I mean. I really appreciate, Jono, you experienced that as well. We probably all of us sounds like share the same thing. Incredible rage and then incredible love. It's just really messes up sometimes. Like, how is that even possible to feel that way? So, but what I would say, pain comes from you still seeking the love that you haven't received, and by trying to build that bridge and that love, and one way or another you're trying to heal it. The best way for that, because I'm not sure she's going to get to the place that you wish she could, and you potentially see her potential. Like, we can see our parents' potential as well, because we know they're so loving, so amazing, and then if they calm down a little bit, if they listen a little bit, like, their life would be better. So we can see it, because we're not them. It's always easy to see outside. So, Carmen, I don't know if your mother will always be ever going to be the mother that you want her to be. I don't know if you're ever going to get that thing, the feeling that you ever want to feel with her. But I think that, I know it's not easy to do, but if you can see her where she is at, and if you can accept her where she is at, and in the future when you have a child, if you actually just apply almost like your learnings, and become the mother that you always wanted to have, but then again, don't attach to your child and really experience that. I don't think that you should have a child in order to understand your mother. I'm not sure how healthy it is. It depends what it is. I think, like, maybe you can understand the love and how much effort and how much time, how much love it takes to grow a child. The times. But I think that what might be really beneficial for you, do your best trying to see your mom where she is, and trying to build that bridge, I know this is going to trigger you. It might, without any attachment. Because every time you're trying to build that bridge, you do it with an expectation, because you just want it so much, and you can see she has the potential. You can see how amazing it could be. So you're attaching a lot of feelings and a lot of like outcome to that, and that's what disappointing you. So if you can just do it because you really want to do it, and you do it without any attachment, that might be less painful for you. But when it comes to the family dynamics, especially family like Asian families, and you know, I can relate to in Turkish families as well. There's a very strong pride. There's a like they have so much pride, parents, and then they have very strong-headed, and then they have a lot of experiences, and they went through a lot of pain and things like that. They do struggle to have these open, honest, and conscious conversations. But the thing is, like, they actually have so much love for their children, but they don't even know how to communicate it with their children, and it's even more painful for them, you know, behind the scenes. So I don't know if what I'm saying is helpful at all, Carmen. We're just trying to see your mom where she's at, and one thing I can tell you with a lot of conviction, your mom probably very confused, because she doesn't know how to show her love to you either. So it's not coming from a bad place. She just doesn't know how to express her love, and it's causing a lot of pain, and for her as well. But I don't know if she will ever going to open up for you and talk about it. But sometimes, like, knowing that, it could be healing as well. It could be soothing. So I don't know if it helps. Sorry, it's just a very tricky one. I've seen that so many times. It's hard.
She said, no, yeah, thank you. I think I've gotten to the point where I'll wait till she comes to me, and she's not ready for a child yet anyways. You know what? I think the funny thing about love, the topic of love, it's one of the, my spiritual mentor calls it one of the 5 karmic keys. Is such a big topic. It's one of the human essential need, right? I think Jono needs to host every Friday night should be the love topic, where we just dedicate every Friday night just to talk about love and relationship. You know, because
I can do. I don't mind. I mean, if that's what people want, I mean, that's.
I think you know what. I think let's just do that. I think you should just do that, bro. I think you should just dedicate every Friday just to talk about love and relationship, because it's such a
love relationship. It's endless, right?
It's endless. It's endless. We talk about relationship, not just like, you know, we started off with, I'm sure you started off with the intention of just talking about general love and relationship.
Well, the first question that I was asked was the definition of lust and love,
right?
But the lust of fantasy lust, not the sexual lust, right?
Right.
So
but,
yeah,
you know, it goes so deep.
It's open, right? So it's
love and relation. Well, love in itself is such a big topic, but relationship is, you know, it's a human skill. I personally feel that it's not just love, and it's leadership as well. It's relating to one another. So you should dedicate a Friday night just for love and relationship, bro. And we'll have Dilara every Friday night, so I can have my red wine.
You know, my life is not very exciting here, so I'll give a Friday and say, even if you have different guests, you just like say, hey, do you want to go? I'll join it.
I'm sure we could have. I wonder how many guests I can have with this platform. Let me check while you guys carry on.
Like, love is one thing that we all want, but at the same time, so many people reject it as well. It's one of those things. It's just like everybody wants it, but at the same time, everybody has something with it, like rejects it. It's just such a fascinating dynamic.
Why do you think people reject it? Is it because of a self-worth, self-esteem issue?
No, there's various of reasons that self-worth is kids, but on the same time, like how they experience love from their parents. Sometimes that there are deep wounds and deep hurt that they choose not to deal with, and they don't want to go there. Like they just make a decision that no fucking way, that I'm not gonna go there. I would never fall in love. I would never do this. I would never do. You know how it is. Like I would never trust men. I would never trust women. I would never get married. I would never do that. So there's a lot of things. It's just there's various of reasons, but it could be coming from the childhood that they could experience like a very unhealthy family dynamic. They could decide that no way on earth that they would actually let themselves like to be part of it, or maybe they gave a chance and then they experienced heartbreak and then they couldn't heal it. They didn't want to heal it. And then the way that at that time they dealt with, and they wouldn't want to. At the same time, remember, fear of rejection is a massive thing as well. So sometimes like instead of experience of rejection, we choose avoid love, so then it wouldn't hurt.
Right. So what
projection is a big one.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is a lot of people, because they're afraid of rejection, so rather than being rejected, they just don't even go there.
Yeah. So by default, that they will never face rejection. But then that causes them more pain. Yeah. Because then they consistently experience that pain. They consistently, like maybe in small chunks, but that's always it's in their life. And fear of rejection is not in the intimate relationship. If you have a fear of rejection, you're going to experience that. So then it's almost like, that story. Like I love that. I don't even believe that it's a story. There was apparently there was a dog. Where what do you call it? In the car, like if you go and it pops your wheels. Those things, and it's like a security thing.
What?
Like. If you ever want to go like a secure place, but you don't have any like permission, and then they put these metal things up, and then it pops your wheels, then you can't go. Car stops.
Oh, I don't know what they are called, but I know what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? Like they just like.
They're like spikes on the road, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
To stop you from going. Right.
Yeah, so basically the story says there's this dog and sits on these spikes and for so long. Okay. So then there's a guy walk past and says that why this dog is here? Like why it's not moving? Like it's clearly because his spikes, it just hurts. So, like why is here? And the owner says it doesn't hurt enough for him to get up and move. So fear of rejection and so many things in regards to relationships is the same thing. So most people don't realize, or maybe they do, but I think it's even, I don't know how many people do actually, to be honest with you, but that fear of rejection, it's always there. It's consistent, right? Like this. So because it doesn't hurt too much, because they have it in small chunks, like there's no reason for them to do anything about it, get up and move. But all they need to do is just experience it like that, boom, that will collapse. And then it won't exist anymore. But it doesn't hurt enough, bro.
Yeah. George called it the electronic bollards. I guess that's what the psyche. Yeah.
I was trying to say in a terrible way. But that's one of the reasons that so many people want love, but they reject love.
Yeah. Yeah. You should definitely dedicate every Friday to a relationship talk, bro. I love a relationship talk.
Get everybody in.
Well, I can bring up to 10 people per.
What, really?
Chat
in this
show.
platform?
Yep, up to 10 people on this platform.
I think that would be quite messy.
Every Friday. I mean, it's going to be hard. Obviously, I could like remove people and bring them back in, so people could take turns to talk. Otherwise, it'd be like a hell show, right?
Yeah, I'd say keep it.
I don't know, like this could be your thing anyway. Right? Because I was thinking
I
about
mean, you could try it. You try it, but I can guarantee you it will be very, very messy.
yeah, 10 would
Probably,
be
yeah, it'd be very messy. No more than 3 guests, otherwise 4 would be a Zoom meeting.
No, it'd be like a Zoom meeting, wouldn't it? So it would be like,
But
no,
this
I
was,
would,
I
I
would
probably,
always like want to do like late night, you know, like in the movies like that kind of like.
this is
late-
why I have a late night show, right? This is why it's called the late chat show.
That's
This
what
is the late chat show. This is where we get to be vulnerable and open and discuss about feelings and emotions that drive us crazy.
sex. You can talk about like kinky stuff at some point.
And this is well, for you, kinky stuff. For Ick is wine time.
Well, you know what? I've already finished half the bottle, so I'm gonna stop here.
Just wait.
Otherwise, I might get drunk.
Right. What else is what's everyone else is saying?
So
They're
Alex,
They're spiky to drive forward but can't reverse.
yes, Alex said, ever since birth, we were all conditioned, even from our parents who loved us unconditionally. They loved us based on their beliefs and programs perspective. Everyone has been conditioned, and it is only ourselves who can become aware of our truths, what serves our highest good for our own intelligence and well-being and for others, to recondition our perspective, to be the best version of ourselves. Oh, wow, you wrote a lot, bro. The hardest love I ever had to learn was to really love myself. I agree. To truly accept myself, to own my bullshit, and to accept my flaws and walls. So self-awareness was paramount to finding a deeper connection of love to help me become a kinder, stronger, wiser decision maker for myself, in which ultimately impacts my relationship with all others. Love is something we emit from our soul and our heart. It is our being. It does not come from our mind and from words. It comes from consistent action. In my opinion, true forgiveness really is the most powerful for growth and healing wounds of past traumas relating to love. So my question, what is a practical thing we can do to truly forgive ourselves and others? Because I believe forgiveness will help us rebuild even more love and acceptance for. Wow.
Okay.
That's a really good question.
It's an amazing question.
Thanks for that, Alex. Thanks.
And Alex, that's such amazing things that you actually wrote there. I agree all of it with wholeheartedly. That's really beautiful. But the conditioning and from the family and self-awareness, like beautiful and very, very true words. So thank you for sharing. I have slightly different opinion when it comes to forgiveness and unconditional love. Like I said, I had personally issue, and I did experience them from other people around me as well. I had the challenge with forgiveness because when something happens, the first thing people say, well, you have to forgive, you have to forgive. But the thing is, like, we need space, we need a little bit of healing in order to forgive. If something happened and the first thing we're trying to do, oh my God, I must forgive, I must let that go. But if you don't have that, so for some people, it's really easy. For some people, it's not. But there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad from that. We're just all different, okay? So when it comes to forgiveness, in my work, I believe that the intention doesn't have to be forgiveness. The intention could be the healing. The intention could be self-awareness and letting go of the things that it doesn't serve us anymore, to understand why we experience what we experience. And forgiveness comes as a byproduct. So either before, like, when something happens, that we can set the intention and say, I know ultimately I want to forgive, but right now it's a challenge. And if I just focus on forgiveness straight away, I'm going to struggle because I'm going to force myself to do that. So my suggestion is focus on doing the work, whatever that you need to forgive. Find out like your contribution to it. Find out like what happened and try to detach yourself from that emotionally. And I'm not saying like in a way that avoidance. I'm saying that work on letting go that intense attachment to the situation or to the person, and try to see it objectively. And then forgiveness, like this, and then you get to the place that you decide, okay, this is the next thing I will forgive, you know. But I don't believe that there is one meditation or healing, or there is one way, there is one writing a paper, do that. You can do all that, okay? You can, for example, if that person doesn't live anymore, you can write a letter for that person. You know, you can write everything that you want to say, and then you couldn't say it maybe, and then you can burn it. You can get rid of it, and then you can, but you can finish that letter and you can say, "I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you for everything that happened, and I forgive myself to putting myself through all this, and I forgive myself for feeling this way towards you all these years." Right? That's one way. So if you want practical things, I can give it to you, but I don't know how much these things works. I think it depends how deep it is. And you can actually like do something else, like we do it in coaching as well, like a chair methods. You can literally sit in this chair, you can put another chair in front of you, and you can visualize, you can open your eyes, you can close your eyes, however you would like, and then you can visualize that person in front of you. Or if it's a situation, like maybe more than, like you can put more chairs, like, and you can bring that situation and you can start to have conversations with them. You can say it, like how you feel, and then that probably would be more like a therapist coaching work. So I don't know if you can do it just on your own, but what you can do, like imagine them in front of them, and you can tell them everything you want to say, and just you can think about their point of view, and then you can tell them, you know, from today onwards that I forgive you, I let you go, I forgive this situation, I forgive you, I forgive myself. Make sure that you always say I forgive you and I forgive myself, you know, because like again, like I said in the compassion, that so many people focusing on compassion to others, but we forget about the self-compassion. It's the same thing, like it's like love me unconditionally, but I don't love myself unconditionally. So there's no point for you to forgive someone if you haven't forgiven yourself, because subconsciously that we do know that woman, like either we just struggle to forgive ourselves for the pain we went through, but we know that we actually carry that along all that time. And I know this could be triggering, but then we know that we couldn't let it go, but we know we struggle. So you have to let go that part of you, hold on to that, and forgive yourself for that as well. And the other thing is that I always say that we don't realize our power of decision. A few times I said that. Again, of course, as always, I trigger people. Sometimes you keep saying that, even the beginning, I'm willing to forgive. I'm willing to forgive. I'm willing to forgive. And then when you get to the right place, straight away, if you start to say that, actually, I made a decision that I'll forgive you, like your subconscious is going to bullshit. So start with, I'm willing to forgive. Because we genuinely don't realize our power of decision. We think that it has to be massive ceremony, it has to be massive healing. Sometimes to saying that, do you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with this, and I don't want to drag this anymore, and I forgive you. I forgive myself, and I let this go lovingly. And from today onwards, this is not going to affect me, and this is not going to affect my life. And when it comes to forgiveness, it's a very, very tricky one to give examples, because, like I said, I do think some people just make it way too easy. For some people, it's definitely easy, but it depends who hurt you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, sis. It's personal, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's personal. Everyone has a different situation, scenario, context. Everyone experiences different things, so definitely for sure. That response was super powerful, Dilara. I'm very grateful. Thank you. So very, very true. We have to be ready to let go of the emotional attachment and that pain that we carry and hold on to. And that takes time and space. the practical advice is something that can help us all on our journey if we are carrying that heavy load. And I think many of us could benefit from the practical steps that you have shared with us. So thank you very much, and all of my love to you guys. Thank you. I'm glad it served you.
Much love to you, Alex, bro. Thank you for sharing, by the way.
Thank you for sharing.
Katerina said, I've taken so much from this live, but whoever just asked that question, thank you, and thank you, Dilara. And I'm someone who can look outside the box and assess, but I've always struggled with forgiveness. And with your answer, I think I may have worked out why. Thank you. There we go. There we go.
I think that's what I wanted to say, because I don't know, like I can't see like who's watching, but when it comes to unconditional love, when it comes to forgiveness, and when it comes to kind of like turn into love, I totally relate to that in personal level. And when I went through that, and I went all the therapists and all the coaches, all the healers, what really pissed me off at one point, and I thought that was actually rather inconsiderate, at least at that time I saw, everybody was like, you have to forgive, you have to forgive. I'm like, do you think I'm stupid that I don't know I need to forgive? Do you think that I'm actually getting kicked out of holding on to this pain? Like, but there is something in me that is holding on to it. And when you say that, you know, you have to forgive, it's not helping. But what also happens is that when we constantly being told, you have to forgive, you have to let go, you have to do this, you have to do that, we end up holding on to it more, even if it's not consciously. This is what I'm saying. It's okay if it takes time. This is not a rush. If you want to change your life, if you want to let it go, if you want to learn how to do that, give yourself time. Healing doesn't have any deadline. Forgiveness doesn't have any deadline. You know, like each time, as long as you know that you're willing to, don't forget the word of willing to love, willing to forgive, willing to experience, willing to understand. It all starts with willing. If you sometimes, like, because look guys, I'm not working with happy people. I'm not even a coach. I'm like a dead on freaking therapist, healer, whatever the fuck I am. Like, nobody knows. But people come to me with some really intense stuff, and this is what I learned. Sometimes that pain, and if you are hurt so badly, and I'm not going to say, oh yeah, what's the meaning you give it to it? I think it's very condescending. It's very disrespectful. It's important for us to respect people's pain and how they go through that and how long like they need to take that time. But what I learn, and this is what I'm teaching a lot of people, even if you're so pissed, you feel rage, you're like, fuck that, I'm never going to forgive that person. Just say, I'm willing to forgive. I know I need to do that. I'm willing to. That's a beautiful way to start. Do you know what it does? It brings your ego right down, and your ego goes like, okay, you're talking to me nicely now. Okay, I can calm down. All right, I'll let you do your own thing. And then you can just bring that compassion and different ways of forgiveness. But it's not easy for some people. For some people, it's like that. But this is not comparison, is it? Like, there's no comparison. There's no competition that, oh, you forgive best, you know, quicker. Well done. They have a medal. It's not like that. But don't fake it. Don't fake it. And do you know how many times I've met with people that in this so-called spiritual world and so aware that they say, yeah, I'm so spiritual, I'm a 5D. Like, I don't, like, nothing is just like, you know, like, there is no to forgive anyway. It's all right or wrong. I'm like, dude, you're hurting, man. Like, you're really hurting. It's okay for you to just say that. I don't care if you're 5D. I don't care if you're 10D. You're hurting. 5D. You don't have, like, if you're struggling to forgive, that doesn't make any less spiritual or highly whatever you would like to call yourself. Like, it's not going to change. Like, you're still cool. You're still that, but that's okay. Just, that's the problem. my experience, at least, so many people fake it because they think it's cool. It's like it's new age, like it's like that because there isn't such a thing or that kind of that. To get there, it takes time. Dalai Lama didn't born as Dalai Lama. These monks didn't just like one day they're born and then they were just sitting there like a I don't know, diaper place, like and then they were meditating. Their mom like changed the diapers. Like they woke up 3 a.m. They meditated 8 hours a day. They had to deal with their ego. We're going back to the same thing. What is our rush? I'm not saying mess around and drag it attached to your pain. I'm not saying that. But if you know that you face it and you're doing the work, it's okay. It really is okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to get out of my system because I really do think there's so much bullshit and puts people under so much pressure.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you on that one. I hear so many bullshit out there all the time. Like you say, you know, people who think he doesn't need any healing. It's like, there's nothing to heal. Yeah, I get it. No, I think the most important thing, like you said, is time. It takes time. But as long as you're willing to work on it, as long as you're willing to heal, you're willing to forgive, you're willing to love, you're willing to explore.
You take responsibility of
Yes,
it,
yeah.
acknowledging it.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You know, you're willing to love yourself, you're willing to explore the possibility of unconditional love, and it will come to you. It will come, but it will take time. Like you say, it takes work as well. Relationship especially, it takes a lot of work.
Exactly.
Wow.
Sorry.
The audience are loving it, sis. By the way, don't say sorry. The audience are laughing. The audience are loving it. They're like, I can't breathe right now. They're having a good fit of a laugh right now. They're enjoying your show. It's probably the most entertaining thing you've said all night.
The 5D spiritual.
But correct. I'm sick of like every day listening to people and they saying that I know, like I love from attachment without any attachment. I'm like, dude, you don't. You're not there yet. You really do it. It's great, but don't trying to be someone that you're not, because then that you're denying your truth. How is that spiritual? How is that 5D? That's not even your truth. Like. Duh.
Because it's on trend, that's why.
Yeah.
It's trendy to be 5D. whatever that means to them, right?
And then do the work and then we'll get there. Like once when we do this and we'll move on anyway.
Yeah, we'll connect to the universe, like hold your hand up and connect to the universe and get the energy charged and bring it back down to ourselves and all that bullshit.
I'm spiritual as fuck. Like I'm not denying any of that. But what I'm saying is the biggest thing in spirituality, at least like what I learned and from like and I'm not saying this is the truth, I'm just saying just something to consider, you know. If there's no compassion, if there's no self-compassion, there's no spirituality, there's no healing. Okay. So
exactly.
It's just not possible, you know, because it's how you're going to face your shadow, how you're going to look at yourself, everything you've done. Maybe you feel extreme shame and guilt, like you hate yourself. What is that magically going to disappear because somebody do ta-ta and then close your eyes and do? No, you have to have self-compassion for yourself for feeling that way and be okay with it, you know. And that's, for me, that's the missing piece. And the whole thing is like, yeah, but you have to forgive and let it go. Yes, I will. But before I forgive, I need to figure out why, what is it holding me back for forgiveness? Is it my attachment? Is it my ego? Is it my resistance? I can't just say like, yeah, I let it go, but I know it's bullshit. But then that's not my truth. And if I'm not talking my truth, I don't care how spiritual you are. If I'm not aligned with myself, if I'm not speaking my truth, if I'm heavy, if I put my head on the pillow that I know I bullshit my way through it, because I want to look so spiritual, so cool, and so forgiving, and so this, but I know it's not true. That's worse. Your soul is there with you at all times. At all times, not other people. You're with you at all times.
I had this conversation the other day actually with one of my friends, and he's an older gentleman, and he said the best way to find yourself is and to accept yourself is to look yourself in the mirror, because that way you look at yourself, and if you really accept who you are, what you've done so far, what you achieved, all your behaviors, accept all consequences and responsibility for everything that you've done so far, and really acknowledge it. Like, look yourself deep in the eye, deep in the soul, and take it all in, right? Because you can't lie to yourself. You have to live with yourself. And he's in the 60s or so, and he's like, you just got to go through that process and accept yourself internally, 100%. It's like, that's your best way of finding yourself and accepting yourself. Look yourself in the mirror. Do you accept yourself? Do you accept your behaviors? Do you accept your decisions, your choices, everything? And I was like, that was powerful. It's true, right? It's something that we look ourselves in the mirror. It's like, am I proud of myself? Am I proud of what I've done so far? Am I, all the work that I've done so far to get to where I am now? And take it all in.
I mean, I personally believe that all of this links back to vulnerability anyway, right? To be able to accept ourselves, all our flaws and everything is part of vulnerability. And that means, what is vulnerability? Most people think, oh, being vulnerable is like, they have a definition for vulnerabilities as in they link it to victimhood. It's not. As our mentor says, vulnerability, the most powerful people are those who can be vulnerable. And that simply means you allow what you fear the most to exist. That means whatever judgment other people have of you, whatever judgment you have on yourself, whatever think as bad or wrong, and you allow it to exist. That is vulnerability. And one of the most powerful lessons I've learned in life is the most vulnerable people are the most powerful. And actually the most powerful people are the ones who allow everything that they fear to exist. And one example he gave was when he sat down in this meeting with this guy, this very rich and powerful man, and him and his partner was trying to get funding from this person. And his friend just got drunk and everything and went on a big, massive lash out on him and just cussed him down. And it's like, you're a bastard, you're a this and that and that. And then it's like, and this guy just sat there taking the insult, taking all of the insult in, just listening, and some of the things he said really hurt. But it was true. That's the funny thing. It's true. That's why it hurts, because it's true, right? Otherwise it wouldn't hurt, because it's true. And he was just giving his opinion of this man, of this rich and powerful man. And he just sat there looking and just sitting there and just listening. And of course, my mentor will try to shut him up. And he said, no, you shut up. You shut him and let him speak. And he carried on speaking, and then he kept on insulting him until when he's done. And it's like, thanks, mate. Spot on. Obviously, they did not get the funding, right? Obviously, they did not get the funding, but my mentor got the most powerful lesson of his own time. And that is the reason why he's rich and powerful, is because people could say anything about him, even though it was true. And he accepts that, and he allows it to exist. And he learned what vulnerability was. Vulnerability really goes really hand in hand with forgiveness and acceptance. Is that we should be okay with everything, and we need to get to the place where we can be okay with everything. The good, the bad, the judgment, the opinions, whatever has happened, whatever mistakes we've made, it may be true, yes, but we're okay with it. And I believe that is one of the most powerful lessons I have personally learned in my life. And I'm sharing this because, just to answer the question of forgiveness, is because this is how I've learned to forgive myself as well. right? Everyone has their own ways to forgive themselves, but this is how I forgive myself. This is how I forgave myself. I just simply said, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I'm okay with it. I'm sorry. I made that mistake. I forgive myself. I'm okay with it. You know, it's like and that's what it is, and that's all it is at the end of the day. Um, but getting to that point is a journey in itself. I would say, like Dilara says, like you say, everything takes time. Everything is a journey. It takes time to get to that space. It takes time to let go of things. You know, it took me time. It took me years to forgive my dad, right? And but eventually, thank God, I got to that space before he passed away. You know, like years before he passed away, I'm talking about. And now that he's gone, he's no longer in my life. I'm at so much peace. I'm at so much peace with myself that I don't feel regret, which is the most beautiful things. I don't feel regret. That's the most powerful thing, and I hope everyone gets to that space too. For anyone who still needs to forgive people, forgive themselves, I hope you really do get to that space. And of course, if you need help, Jono, me, and Dilara is here to help. Just reach out to us. Any one of us, we're here to help. If you just need a chit chat, we this is the reason why Jono's doing this live chat show, right? To get to those triggered space, the hashtag triggered space, where
Yeah.
people don't talk about.
Especially when I'm there, definitely like hashtag triggered.
Absolutely. This
But,
is why this chat show was brought up. Well, one was because so many people goes, Jono, I love your content, but I don't know what time you go live. So now that they know what time I go live on every Wednesdays and every Fridays at 9:30 p.m. UK GMT.
Yeah.
And it's late for Dilara as well, by the way. Just so I'm aware of that as well. And we have nearly going towards 3 hours. That's
This is nothing for us.
this is nothing for us, but I'm appreciative that Dilara
as
is
long
staying
as
up
there's
late.
still audience, we'll keep going. As long as you guys want us to keep going, we'll
I'm
keep going.
happy to keep going if everyone's still like intrigued and going for it.
It's 2 a.m. here.
Yeah, exactly, right. It's 2 a.m. for you, right, sis?
Yeah. George said some people get so lost invested into what other people perceive of them. Yeah, often it's down to social pressure and emotional bullying. The car scene is famous for that. Jono, you've been there, you know what it's like. A lot of people get muddled up between self-forgiveness and self-pity. That's a good one. That's a very good one. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right, George. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, the car scene, any scene really, you get towards the social pressure and emotional bullying, even in streaming and gaming. That industry is also just as bad, right? For the young kids that's going through the game e-gaming platform and streaming and Twitch, they also have the same social pressure, right? My friends on Fortnite. Can I go on Fortnite? Right? That's the kind of like my friends on Minecraft. Can I have Minecraft? that's the kids. That's what kids are going through right now. It's like, oh, can I have a mobile? Can I have an iPhone? Because my friend's got an iPhone. It's like, why do you want £1,000 phone for? Because my friend's got one. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's the comparison mindset and the entitlement mindset. Like I said earlier on, it's just I feel for the kids who are this is a very sensitive topic. I don't want to go too deep into it, but just to share a little bit of it is I I worry for my nephews. They're just like, one of them's 3.5 and the other one is 9 months old. I worry because of the generation they're being brought up in, and I'm consciously I'm putting it into my own consciousness right now. I'm going to do my best to influence them in a positive way so that they don't grow up to be, one of these spoiled children with an entitlement mindset and all of that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult because of all of what's going on right now, especially with the pandemic and the technology and all of that's going on. But it will, it's life. It's life. We can't control, my mentor says, you can't control what we can't control, right? We can only control what we can control. So just just focus on that, you know. Yeah. Nokia 3310, bro. I have that, bro. I still have mine. I still have my 3310, bro. I still have my Nokia 3310. I can play snakes on it still.
I think I might still have mine as well somewhere.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Oh gosh, bring back those old days. You know, just text.
Those
Play
days
Snake.
that we thought our life was stressful at that time.
Oh,
A phone call, a message. Now it's like
man.
anxiety.
I don't know about you guys, but I used to be such a pro at texting with the like those olden days phones. You know, it's like it's not smartphones, it's not touch screens. It actually has buttons on it, right? And you have to like press at certain times to get a certain number. I used to be so good at texting it. I don't even need to look at it. I could hide it underneath a desk and pretend I'm studying and looking at the teacher and I'm texting my friend.
Yeah, but I
You
used
can't
to
do
do
that
that.
with smartphones these days.
I used to do that as well with the text. It's like you get to your double tap your 2 to get to a B and a C,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you're spelling out, like you're calculating what you're spelling in your head whilst you're typing with your fingers on your thumbs. It's like nowadays you don't even know what you're typing on the touch phone.
And nowadays we have what we call the autocorrect as well. That ruins so many
That's
people's
even
lives.
I didn't even say half the stuff I wanted to put.
That's so bad.
Autocorrect. Oh my gosh, who invented autocorrect?
You know, there was at some point, I think it's a website that it's like all these hilarious autocorrect ones. And then they say such bizarre things, and some of them so inappropriate.
Yeah.
Started it. I remember that first time. I think that was like I was still working, so that must be about 7 years or something ago or something. You have this email. There was like all these screenshots of text messages where it's for autocorrection, but they are so literally like I was just smacking the table and just laughing so hard because they're so stupid. So
yeah, I remember those ones. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting.
Oh my god.
Are there anybody else there? Are they saying anything?
There are still people around. No one's asking any questions. They're just having fun. They're laughing. They're responding. They're just laughing at our jokes, our bands. Oh.
We were some way that we were, good for. What happened to it? You just turn around.
Just turn your screen around.
There we go.
Yeah, hopefully we were one way or another valuable for your audience, Jono. Hopefully we did deliver it, bro.
We delivered a lot, sis. We did like 3 hours worth, nearly 3 hours worth.
I think you guys did a good job. I mean, like we entertained them. We gave them some really good gold nuggets on values. You know, we talked about some sensitive topics. We triggered them. You know, we did a good job.
I mean, like, talk about repurposing content, sis. Like, this will be a lot of repurposing to go through. Like, there's so much gold shared on this chat, right? It's gonna take me forever. I'm still going through our interviews that we had. I haven't gone through that yet.
Especially the part that I did.
So much content I'm going through. I'm just like, I don't even know where I'm starting with repurposing these stuff. I mean, like, we've got so much gold going on.
Well, Alex says thank you for a great chat, guys. I'm off now, so stay
Thank
blessed
you, Alex.
and catch you guys in the next one.
Thank you for coming on.
I'm gonna say probably is a good time to finish it as well, because otherwise I'm gonna have to keep going on the bottle of the red wine as well.
Yeah, I think we'll call it a night and wrap up here, because we have delivered a lot and gone through a lot as well.
Yeah, it's literally almost 3 hours.
Yeah, I know it says.
So much
Nick,
fun.
could you just share the list of books for those that wanted the list?
Yeah. So in the beginning, for those,
type it out onto the chat. If you
okay,
mind.
yeah, sure. So I mean, I'll type it out anyway. But for those who missed it earlier on, Dilara did recommend 5 top books on love and relationship. I'll type them out in the message so you guys can check it out.
That'd be awesome. And remember, every Wednesday and Friday nights 9:30 p.m. GMT is when I will do this late chat show with special guests, and if requested, Friday nights we could have Dilara and Ek talk about relationships, and then Wednesday evenings I can have other guests to talk about other subjects. I don't mind. It seems this love and relationships would be a very hot topic, so I think we could do this more often.
We think so. Thank you for having us, Jono. This was so much fun, and it was great to catch up with you guys.
This could also be a good excuse to hold us accountable to keep in touch with each other, because now that Dilara is in Turkey, we don't get to hang around her place in London as often as we wanted to.
This is our new place, temporary, till I come back.
This will be our new place, yeah, to hang out. Maybe we'll bring Ragarth on next time if he's allowed to stay up.
That'll be a good idea.
If Ragarth's allowed to stay up this late.
Of course he is.
Awesome. Yeah. All right then. Are we saying goodbye?
Thank you so much, sis and bro, for coming on, and thank you everyone for sticking with us for nearly 3 hours. Like, wow. Hope you guys found it.
They deserve something. I don't know, whatever it is.
Ladies and gents, thank you for tuning in and spending and sharing, you know, our loves, laugh, trigger, emotional roller coaster ride. It's been eventful. It's been amazing. This is what this chat show is about, and more of it to come in the next few coming up. That's it. Anything else we want to say, bro?
See you next Friday with a new bottle of red wine.
Yeah, if you
Love you guys.
You guys can start sponsoring Ick for red wines as well, right?
Yes. I love red wine.
And send it with Dilara as well in Turkey. I'll just stick with a tea. I'm a bit boring like that. I get drunk too easy.
Yeah, but I'm more fun apparently when I'm a little bit tipsy. Not drunk, more tipsy, so I can be more entertaining to the audience.
As if you wasn't as entertaining already this day.
Nothing. You know me. That was just a iceberg.
Awesome. Thank you all. Have a good night and have a lovely weekend as well. And we'll see you in next Friday. Yeah. Well, I'll see you on Wednesday, but those two will see you next Friday.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.